surely we should define family in the way that Brits have always defined family, rather than taking into account the very many various cultural considerations that don't involve blood or indeed legal ties, Shoaib.
No, of course we shouldn't. How does that make any sense? It's just like, for instance, there are other countries, obviously, that wouldn't, for instance, recognize gay marriages. So now if we have couples here, it's two men and with their kids, and if at some point, the country has to evacuate and families are being lifted off to another country, should all those families be left behind because that country doesn't recognize? So many people would not understand, how is this a family, two men with kids?
Well,
but that's the thing,
ministers wanted dependents of Afghan migrants coming to this country to be solely married couples and direct children. Now, lawyers get involved, and of course they use the European Court of Human Rights to drastically broaden out that definition of what it means to be a family member. And Shoaib, can you see how the average British taxpayer is quite an ask, isn't it, to ask them not only to provide the money for one migrant from Afghanistan coming over, but for 21 or 22 of their relatives?
No, it's a very big ask, but the main thing is we have to see why it's happening and who these people are. So these are not just random Afghans. These are people who either fought with our forces or allied forces, were interpreters for us, helped us. I'm not sure what we actually achieved being there for 20 years, but whatever we think we achieved, obviously these were people who were part of that mission. And so we have to remember those are not just random asylum seekers, those are the people. And secondly, the way they've been treated, and even now the government saying, like you were reporting, we're not going to compensate them for their personal data being leaked. These people who, if it becomes common knowledge, or if it becomes known to the Taliban or the government, that they have actually been fighting with or supporting.
Yes, but you will have seen, Shoaib, you will have seen reports that apparently, according to sources who are very much involved in all of this, a lot of these claims may not have been genuine or as genuine as assumed to begin with. But Shoaib, I'll have to leave it there.
That's the Home Office's fault. I'm not surprised. That's how the Home Office works. I wouldn't be surprised if, out of 10 people, they choose the 5 non-genuine ones and leave the 5 genuine ones to die there. So I think, but that's nothing wrong with the rules or the law or the policy. That's just, I don't want to use the word stupidity.
I don't know. I do think some of these lawyers like to... Some of these lawyers like to stretch the law, I would say. But Shoaib Khan, thank you very much indeed, human rights lawyer. Always a pleasure to speak to you, Dr. Shoaib. Well, I think it's time to introduce my panel and see what they think. Political commentator Kane Blackwell, former advisor to Priti Patel MP, and the former Labour activist Chris Worrell. Now, we're going to get into why you're the former Labour activist. This has all changed in the last hour, but I'm going to save that for the next section because it's more relevant. But first, Kane, on this. Shoaib Khan putting up the defence, saying this is the law. Cultural considerations have to be taken into account. But I'm sorry, it's going to cost the British taxpayer a huge amount of money. Surely, if we're going to grant asylum to people, it has to be only for the very, very few legitimate cases.
100%. And I think the problem is we have a broken system and we have broken trust in this country. The British people do not trust their politicians because, quite frankly, successive governments have failed to actually tackle this issue. And it is probably the most important issue in the country right now is illegal immigration and migration in general for millions of people. And I think we are run by lawyers and not by lawmakers, and that is a huge problem. We're seeing it all the time. They're using, ECHR legislation on all of this sort of stuff to actually circumvent, what actually people think of what
to keep foreign criminals in this country, to allow people to bring 22 relatives. That is quite incredibly... Chris, 22 relatives, is that just a case of saying, oh, well, that's the culture out there, so we'll just believe it?
Well, it's not many family trees that have 22 branches, but I think where we're looking at is, there are rules around having to make sure proportionality, safety and all those sort of things. And I think the Agyarko test, which seems to be this judge's test that seems to be kind of open this up here, even if you don't meet the checklist, as long as you meet some vibe test, then you're in. It is a bit of a joke. We are facing a constitutional crisis at this stage, and where we've got, instead of rule by law, it seems to be rule by lawyers. And I don't really find many people that can defend some of these decisions that are being made. And we've got to be moving on to what needs to change around these things. And if we don't, then we're just going to be getting more and more...
I just think it's quite incredible, isn't it, Kane, how you can have ministers say, no, we're only going to accept the very, very close relatives of individuals. And then lawyers say, no, 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 we can use the European Court of Human Rights and all of the human rights laws to say, actually, you don't even need to be a blood relative. You don't even need to have any legal tie to the individual. Just pop over and we'll give you accommodation and refugee status.
100%. And I've seen it, well, I've also heard it from former ministers themselves, you know, wanting to get things done and get things through, and either they're being, you know, circumvented by lawyers or by civil servants themselves, who are there to actually, you know, put out the laws and the policies of the government at the time. But I think this comes down to a fundamental problem with our governance. And it's really deeper than what people think and what people see. We actually need our elected representatives to have power and to have control over these decisions, because we have siphoned off democracy to unelected bodies, to judges, to quangos, so many different organisations who actually make so many different decisions that affect millions and millions of people who have no accountability. We cannot chuck these people out, and we need to change this. And whoever the next government is, whether that is a Reform government, a Conservative government, and God forbid a Labour government, we need them to actually look at this in the round and actually come out and say, we're going to shake this country up completely.
Yeah, well, I mean, you can hope for a radical shake-up. But, Chris, a lot of people getting in touch who are, well, just sick of activist lawyers, or who they perceive to be activist lawyers. I mean, Aaron's got in touch. There are a lot of human rights lawyers rubbing their hands together. Others have got in touch saying it's a way to make a quick buck. They don't really care about these people. It's just about, you know, lining their own pockets and all of this. There is such distrust in our system, and it does appear as though there's a huge amount of judicial activism.
Well, look, I mean, there are laws there to protect, you know, people who might be under undue, you know, hardship or kind of faced with some sort of serious threats. But it's where the, you know, how far does that go? And where we've got the Afghan situation where there was, I think it was meant to be 600 or 700 originally, now it's sort of ballooned into some enormous numbers. To the point that you made, there was a bit of a gravy train for these people. I'm sure they're doing all well-intentioned, but we've got to be bringing it back to what's sort of reasonable. If we have put people's lives at risk, fine, OK? But then, and to what nth degree? If someone's just, you know...
Well, yesterday, Chris, I was doing some research into, some digging into the Barings Law, which is one of these law firms that's actively seeking out Afghans, either in this country already or elsewhere in the world, to seek compensation from the UK government. And it really is, you go onto their website, you get an immediate pop-up saying, affected by the Afghan national data breach, start your claim now, want to talk. It only takes a minute to check. They've got a banner going across, start your claim now, and they've got a little tick box exercise to, you know, get your name in there. They're claiming they've already got 1,000 or so clients signed up, and they take 35% plus VAT if they're successful.
Well, no win, no fee. I mean, it's always a good one if you can get it, especially when this scheme actually gives you automatic approval. So this is kind of a, you know, an open door.
To put the other side of that, though, the Ministry of Defence has said they're going to fight any of these compensation claims.
I'm sure they are.
But will they win? The Home Office never wins.
Well, exactly. But also, as well, I mean, coming back to the main point about the data leak itself, is no one's actually been fired over this. And it really frustrated me last week when I saw Conservatives, you know, trying to put the blame game on one another and say, oh, it's this one, blah, blah, blah. No, it wasn't. It was a civil servant. We actually have to realise that the civil service is not the envy of the world it once was. It is leaking like a sieve, quite honestly, and I really do think we need to get it sorted. But the lefty causes, it's funny, isn't it, these lefty causes, climate change, you know, migration, human rights, refugees, they all seem to have a lovely, lovely racket behind them all, don't they?
But it was a judge that put that in place, though, Kane. Let's be honest. It was a judge that made a case that the law that of this land has, as to the point you made earlier, handed it over from the rule of law, where politicians are accountable, to this system where everyone can just play this.
We've allowed it to happen.
But it's been such a mess. I mean, you've seen report after report of people who, well, should know what they're talking about, saying that actually we brought the wrong ones in. We brought Afghans who weren't really that involved with the British forces, nor with helping us out or with our side of things, and actually just got people who are just playing the game to get over here. So it's all a bit of a mess. I don't like the sort of the Conservative covering our backs type thing that we've seen. We've seen so much of, whether it's Grant Shapps, you've got of course Ben Wallace as well speaking out. But Doesn't reflect well on the way we run things in this country, I don't think. And John Healey, the Defence Secretary, Labour Defence Secretary, saying, oh, we can't do a witch hunt. Of course we can't do a witch hunt. We can't go after this this person who leaked all of this. Of course not. That's not our priority. Well, actually, I think it's rather important for democracy that we have some accountability, isn't it? Well, we'll wrap that conversation up for now. Do get your views in, because I want to come to some of them. I know a lot of you feel very strongly indeed about this all. But for now, I would like to invite you to take part in our Great British Giveaway, because you could win £54,321 in tax-free cash. Here's the details.
£54,321 in tax-free cash really could be yours. But what's it like to be a big Great British Giveaway winner?
I'm Paul from Sheffield. I was the winner of a very nice motor home and £5,000 in cash off GBNews. Yeah, he just pinged up money in, 5,000, and I'm like, wow, I have actually won this competition. It has changed my life. It's given me stability and it's given me something to look forward to. Anybody can win. I never thought I was going to win, and I did. So thank you, GB News.
Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, if you haven't entered, why not do so today? But coming up, Sir Keir Starmer, yes, he's planning, apparently, a presidential-style shake-up of his Downing Street team. Yes, apparently, too, in efforts to stop the dysfunction of his government. But will it be enough to turn his record-low polling around? Is this some kind of power grab? What does it say about the Prime Minister's position? This is GB News, Britain's news channel.
Five hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates,
5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me. You got me good there.
Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show.
It's not a bad brand. Yeah.
Uncensored.
Very easy tonight on the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace to
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Front page of the Times today says exercise proves the best therapy for keeping cancer at bay. Let's get the views of Tim Vincent.
It's quite an exciting trial, this. There's new findings every single day, isn't there? But I think this has been done over many years by a lot of people. And it actually says, what you'd assume would be the case is that if you exercise, then it keeps your health in a better condition and will keep cancer from returning measurably, notably.
Yeah.
So I think it's 30-something%. And this is on people that have had cancer and then are encouraged to exercise. And there's many doctors over the years have said, not quite sure. If you feel like you can exercise, then exercise. They're now saying you should exercise as soon as you feel good enough.
This
will make a big difference.
This makes me feel awful because I would have been pro-exercise, except I can't move. I'm in a wheelchair now, and I can't put on the right trainers, I can't change, I can't go to the showers, I can't do things. It's just I can't stand up. So there are a lot of people who are incapable of exercising, and therefore, rightly so, we see their increase of cancer growing.
Absolutely, and that's an issue that everybody's going to face, and you're obviously in a really difficult position. Any exercise, I think, is going to help, especially for these people that have had cancer once and can get out there. And it's very isolating as well, exercising.
So you're actually saying, if you're in redemption from cancer or whatever, you could keep it at bay by exercising.
It's actually better than a pill.
Yeah,
the results are actually better than a poll.
I think it's 36%, isn't it, for exercise?
Yeah.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m.
Only on GB News. 5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace
Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
Okay, welcome back to the Nana Akua show on GB News, this time with Emily Carver, yes me. It is 3:23 and it's a bit of a miserable day, at least it is down here outside, so I don't know, curl up on the sofa and watch us, or if you're listening on radio, do enjoy. But we're going to turn our attention to Keir Starmer. I apologise in advance, because he is looking at creating a presidential-style department for Downing Street. Apparently this is in an attempt to turn his fortunes around, following some disillusionment in Number 10 about the existing government machine, and of course recent setbacks such as the welfare cuts and various different U-turns, and of course he's had to remove the whip from quite a number of politicians recently as well. So the proposed move has led to accusations of a presidential land grab by Keir Starmer, as the move would mean significantly increasing numbers of staff around him, presumably chosen by himself. Well, let's speak with the chief political commentator at The Independent, John Rentoul. John, what have you heard about these plans, if anything, John?
Hi, Emily. I've heard about these plans almost every year since about 1979. I think the idea that Number 10 is underpowered, that it's old-fashioned, it's too small, it's a London terraced building, and completely unsuited to a modern prime minister's office. This has always been the case, and prime ministers have always chafed at it and thought about appointing more people and appointing more people to occupy the cabinet office, which backs onto Number 10. Dominic Cummings had a war room in the cabinet office with huge screens up on the walls. It makes no difference. I mean, what makes the difference is the character of the prime minister and the grip that they are able to exert on the government machine.
OK, because there is a suggestion that this is similar to what Boris Johnson did in his dying days. He wanted to set up some kind of office for the Prime Minister or something similar to this, to try and consolidate power, to try and get the ducks in a row, to try and turn things around. Could it be suggested, John, that this is a desperate move from Sir Keir Starmer? I mean, he is deeply unpopular.
Yeah, he really is. And, I think there's a sort of dissonance in government, in that they don't really understand how unpopular he is and why he's so unpopular, and they are casting about for anything they can think of to try and deal with it. But reorganising the offices is never the answer. It's always politics that is the answer. You have to have a political message, and you have to be able to deliver the policies. You actually have to deliver, a difference on the ground that people will notice. This is never going to work. There's always been talk of a department of the Prime Minister, and you appoint someone senior to run it, and all the rest of it. It's the same thing as, back in the English Civil War, people blamed the King's advisors for pursuing the wrong policies. It's always the advisors who get the blame, but actually you've always got to look at the person.
Yeah, you've got to blame the Prime Minister, really. I mean, he's the chief. He's the chief. He's the one who, you know, is given advice, and he's got to know which advice to take and which not to take. But I think fundamentally, John, why he's so unpopular is because people don't believe what he's saying. I mean, you know, when he was talking about immigration and getting tough on it, everyone knows that he doesn't really mean it, really. He backtracks on things he said. He's U-turned on all sorts. No one knows what he actually believes as a man. And, of course, added to that, it's the classic sort of human rights lawyer thing that gets people's backs up, doesn't it? This sort of superior. I'm just letting it all out, John.
I think you're being unfair.
OK, go on, tell me.
The fundamental problem is that he has inherited a very, very difficult situation from the Conservatives.
It was on the up, John. We were on the up, at least, a little.
No, we weren't. No. The point is there was a huge fiscal hole, which everybody could see. I mean, people go on about this 22 billion and how it's not real and all that. It's far worse than 22 billion. We could see that the public spending was going up and up and up, and the tax revenues just weren't there, which is why Rachel Reeves had to put taxes up so much in the last budget. But that wasn't enough to solve the problem, because we've got no growth. So
less people working and paying taxes. But let's be positive this Saturday afternoon. It's raining outside. John, just one quick question. Have you read all of those books behind you?
Yeah, of course I have, yes.
Every single one?
Yeah,
you're a learned man.
I don't know if I've read all of them all the way through, but yeah, no, they're all my books. I've read them. There's a great, very self-indulgent Twitter thread on Twitter or X, in which I list them all and explain why they're there.
Oh, well, viewers and listeners, please do check that out if you're interested in John Rentoul's book collection. It reminds me of the pandemic where I think it was Michael Gove, wasn't it? He got caught out with some book and was, I don't know, that was deemed inappropriate. John Rentoul, thank you very much, chief political commentator at The Independent there. OK, so a little bit, let's introduce political commentator Kane Blackwell, former advisor to Priti Patel, and Chris Worrell, the former Labour activist. Chris, let's get into that. Why are you a former Labour activist? This has changed all in the last couple of hours.
Yeah, no, I'm following the U-turn on the planning reforms recently, and it's got to the point now with the Labour Party that it's finding it too difficult to back. We've seen things like the Campaign for Rural England funding Fabian Society events with Matthew Pennycook and Chris Hinchliffe, who was, you know, demonstrably had the whip removed, and then they go out and make announcements on giving in to all his demands. And, you know, as a co-founder of Labour YIMBY, amongst others, which is the Yes in My Backyard movement.
This is pro-building.
Pro-housing, pro-building.
Yeah.
You know, it just flies in the face of everything we stood for. And, you know, the Fabian Society went in so far, following criticism, to suspend me as chair from a member policy group, which is one of the first YIMBY organisations within the Labour Party. But when they were attacking the Tories over trying to do planning reform, and since then, you know, it's just a culmination of factors, really. So it goes to the...
You don't feel like your home is there anymore, Chris?
Well, you know, I grew up under the Blair government.
Socialists are vicious, aren't you?
Well, it's definitely a broad church, and what we're seeing now with Rayner and Pennycook, you know, every time they're trying to undermine the leadership. And we've seen with the rebellious backbenchers...
People won't know who Pennycook is.
Oh, Matthew Pennycook is the housing minister under Angela Rayner. It's Angela Rayner's, you know, right-hand man that seems to be sort of working against everything that this plan...
So they've upset you a lot, basically?
Me and many others. I'm talking about all the young people in the party, right? Like, they're looking at this in despair. It was in the Times on the second page today, sort of covering some of this. There are some good people in the Labour Party. You know, they've got a Labour Growth Group going out there and pushing for it, but it really needs... you know, someone in number 10.
I mean, it is crazy. Angela Rayner saying we're going to build 1.5 million homes, we're going to take a bulldozer to planning regulations. Oh, actually, you know, we don't fancy doing that anymore. We'll throw the YIMBYs under the bus, eh?
It's the vegetable lobby, you know, we're seeing that Looking for Growth and all these other people pushing, you know, against this. Like, people prioritising bats and newts, right? You know, having knocked on enough doors in town hamlets, you see, you know, the mattresses up against the walls, the kids that get moved out for 2 hours away from when they've grown up because of the accommodation crisis. And these people are there discussing about chalk streams. And I'm sorry, they're unimportant, but these regulations cover that anyway.
Bats and the newts. I mean, you sound like my co-presenter, Tom Harwood. He could bang on about bats and newts and how they should not be in consideration when you're trying to build a tunnel.
He gets it.
But, Kane, I will allow you to reflect on what John Rentoul had to say there, sort of suggesting that this happens and it's not that big a deal. But, yes, Keir Starmer is deeply unpopular, so there might be a little bit of consolidation of power needed.
Look, it all just strikes of weakness, doesn't it? It's so...
What, President Starmer?
No, well, look, why do you need to consolidate your power? I mean, he has got such a large majority. He should be on top of the world. Blair, when he had, planning rebels, not planning, welfare rebels, he didn't get rid of them. He didn't say, you're out the party, because he was sure of himself. He knew what he could do. And I find it actually quite strange as well, because a lot of these new MPs, so many of them, are all handpicked by Starmer and his team. It's not like it was a very democratic, open process for actually selecting a lot of these Labour MPs. It was all quite, we want this person there and we want that one there. And that's one way to go about it.
Keir Starmer, all of his recent tweets are about securing our borders. And it's almost like... he's talking tough. He's saying, my message to people smugglers, we will destroy your business model piece by piece. But the problem, as I said to John Rentoul, is that no one believes. No one believes this is actually going to happen, because in order to do so, you have to potentially say no to some of these lawyers. I know Keir Starmer very much is in favour of us sticking with every international law that there is, dotting the I's and dotting the T's or whatever. Anyway, coming up, Northumbria Police Force has agreed to remove all Pride rainbows from its vehicles, and it's also banned officers from going to Pride events in their uniform. So could other police forces follow suit? We're hearing that Scotland is doing the same. That's next time. I'm going to actually speak to the woman who was behind all of this, who was campaigning, went to court, etc., etc. You won't want to miss it, so stick with us after the headlines with Bethany.
Good afternoon. The headlines from the GB newsroom at 3:30. At least 30 people have been injured. 3 of those are in a critical condition after a vehicle ploughed into a crowd in Los Angeles. 55 protesters have been arrested in central London for showing support for the proscribed terrorist group Palestine Action. Donald Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal and its owner Rupert Murdoch for $10 billion after the paper alleged he sent a birthday message to the late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. At least 32 people have been killed by Israeli fire on their way to an aid distribution site in Gaza. The Israeli military claim they fired warning shots, but Gaza residents say they heard no warnings before the firing began. Those are the latest headlines. More in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers, and when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across the very far south, but even in the north, those temperatures reaching into the low 20s. As we then go through Sunday evening, continuing to see those showers swirling around that area of low pressure. Again, these turning heavy and thundery in nature as we go into the start of the new week. And the outlook is remaining pretty similar. Plenty of showers on the cards for many of us, though temperatures still around average for the time of year, but feeling pleasant where you do catch the sunshine.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world. Am I allowed to talk now?
No, that's it. This is where it matters. Real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m. only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
Read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Okay, welcome back to the Nana Akua show on GB News with me, Emily Carver, this afternoon, because it is, in fact, Nana Akua's birthday. So a very happy birthday to her. I hope she's celebrating nicely after her big engagement party, of course. But we're going to move on because the Northumbria Police Force has now agreed to remove all pride rainbows from its vehicles following the landmark High Court ruling. Yes, the force has also told all its officers and all its staff they're not allowed to attend a gay pride march in uniform this weekend, in a move which could set a precedent for other forces, and I believe it's already had ramifications in Scotland as well. But I'm delighted to say I could speak with Lindsay Smith, who actually won her case against Northumbria Police over pride participation, so sort of set this all in motions, haven't you, Lindsay?
Yeah, it's been a pretty wild ride, to be honest with you. I don't think, I mean, I was told it was going to be quite big when we were doing it all, but I don't think I quite comprehended just the impact it was going to have, to be honest. It's crazy.
You're being described in the papers as a gender-critical lesbian. Do you mind being just described as that?
Well, if that's what they want to call me, you know, I'm just a woman that lives in reality, in my opinion. So I just live in reality, and I want a police force that polices us properly.
Yeah, so you initially went to court because Northumbria Police... Well, remind our viewers what happened, how we got to this position.
Yeah, so I was banned from going to Newcastle games. The police were kind of used as, you know, it was like a little witch hunt almost. The police had 14 officers in total investigate me for a hate crime, pulled me in for interview under caution, only to tell me no further action. And then it's kind of stemmed from there, really. I got the help from Harry Miller of Fair Cop. We put a complaint into the, obviously, the IOPCC, I think it was. And while we were waiting for all of that, Harry just had this brilliant idea. He was like, why don't we go undercover at Pride and catch them in the act out for ourselves? And I don't think, again, I haven't been to Pride for a really long time. So when I went last year, it was an eye-opening experience, to say the least.
Tell me, why was it eye-opening?
It's just not what it was when I was growing up anymore. You know, when I was young, it was a celebration. It was very family-friendly through the day, you know. You'd listen to music, have a good time, and then the night time would come, and that's when the drinking would really start. And, you know, it would maybe get a bit 18 plus. But now it's just, it blows my mind. I saw satanic flags, you know, there was people dressed walking in like puppy play gear on leashes, barking and woofing, and you had kids walking up and stroking them from the crowd, and it was just wrong. It was wrong on all levels. It just made me entirely uncomfortable, very uncomfortable.
Now, you went to, you challenged legally Northumbria Police, didn't you, for having uniformed officers taking part in the Pride event. You felt as though they were essentially showing support for transgender ideology, which is, of course, contested as a belief system.
Yeah.
You are very much allowed to think that sex is sex and sex means sex when it comes to biology, and you won.
Yes, I know. That's the crazy thing. The thing is, when we won, obviously, the judge, he was a really good judge. He gave my barrister a hard time. He gave Northumbria Police's barrister a hard time. We had a feeling that we were going to get something out of it, but we didn't think it would be anywhere near what we've ended up getting. It's literally everything I've worked for. Like, you know, there's no reason to be having the trans flag or even the pride flag on any of your police vehicles. It's just not necessary. You know, it's political posturing at the end of the day. It's not just the trans side of it, it's just all of it in general, you know. The police are there to police without favour at the end of the day, and we can't have them pontificating to one side, you know, and alienating the others.
Yeah, we'll just say to our listeners who are listening on the radio that we're currently looking at a picture of a police van with the transgender flag across it, sort of painted on, and someone in the front with a sign saying the anti-turf unit. Now, presumably that means people like you and I, maybe. The anti-turf unit.
That is actually me dressed as a hot dog and
Oh, that's you! Oh, I didn't know that, Lindsay. Well, thank you. I'm glad that I mentioned it then. So that is you, dressed as the hot dog, with the anti-turf unit sign.
Yeah, we went undercover, me and Harry, and I decided to go dressed as a hot... I said it was either that or a whoopee cushion, and I didn't fancy having people trying to sit on me all day, so I went as a hot dog.
Well, you're certainly not worried about putting yourself out there, and thank you for it. Lindsay Smith, thank you very much indeed for joining us this afternoon. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Enjoy yourself. But yes, let's bring in my wonderful panel. Kane Blackwell, former advisor to Priti Patel, and Chris Worrell, former Labour activist. Yes, Kane, a lot was said there. And Lindsay Smith has been fighting this fight for a little while now, and she's having real consequences for the police.
Thank God for Lindsay. Honestly, it's great news, to be honest with you. You know, as someone who is a gay man, you know, I really don't subscribe to all of this. I just don't need, like, a flag. I don't need a lanyard. I don't need a train blazoned in, you know, rainbow lanyards, rainbow flags to know that, you know,
you don't even like the traditional, antiquated rainbow.
I just don't need it. I like the only flag I need. The only flag I need is this lovely one here. You know, is the Union flag.
God, it brings a tear to the eye.
It really does, but it's true. But I just feel like that's what represents us. I don't need, you know, just because I'm partial to, you know, of the same sex doesn't mean that, you know, I need a...
Nicely put, Kane.
Well, exactly, but I don't need, you know, I don't need to be different. We're all the same, you know. We just like different things, you know, get over it.
I mean, Chris, some will say, you know, police officers enjoy taking part in Pride if they happen to be gay or non-binary or have whatever sexual preference. They should be able to do so, and that it's not overtly political in any way. What would you say?
I don't think this decision undermines trust with the community that's historically underreported. So we can't have person dressed as a hot dog going on about politics and then using politics to then stop the police participating in a Pride event. Are we being serious about it? And Kane's entitled to his views, right? But let's talk about all the other people that might share different views. And because that person's target was the T in LGBT, she's taken all the way up that even normal, you know, LGB police officers can no longer walk on Pride. I just think it's a joke. I mean...
Only in their uniform.
Yeah.
Only in their uniform.
Only in the uniform.
Exactly.
And I think that's right.
What's the beef?
In their spare time, that's absolutely fine.
What's the beef, Kane?
Well, I'll tell you what the beef is.
Panic at a rainbow.
Let's get them back on the streets. Let's get them back on the streets fighting crime. That's what I want. They're not. They're walking down a parade. I don't care. Get out there and actually save people. Go out there and
go on a parade. What's wrong with going on a parade?
We've got other stuff to do. Like,
are they not in uniform?
Raped in the streets. People are getting stabbed.
Are they not in uniform at a Pride event? Are they not doing their job? Can they not participate in a mass walk? Well, it is. It's crowd safety.
What about the argument that the transgender ideology is a contested one, so therefore police officers shouldn't be showing that they believe X view over Y view?
Look, I think from my perspective, there's obviously various cases where, you know, we've seen it in the courts, so that's been contested, OK? My personal opinion, I'm kind of a let and let live. Obviously, I was talking to my sister, she'd be like, oh, I can't say I'm having a man say you can go in and out of women's toilet. I totally get that. I'm not the expert in this arena. But at the same time, if that is where the law is at the minute, then that's where the law is. So I don't really see why someone who's, you know, targeting that and a political campaign has to ruin it for everyone else.
All right. She's ruined it for everyone. Well, let us know what you think. gbnews.com/your say. Well, Lindsay Smith is very delighted about it. I think she is what she'd say. But yes, is it going too far? You know, banning pride flags or transgender flags from police vehicles. Is it going too far? Banning uniformed officers from these pride marches. Is it just a bit of fun? I don't know. Let us know. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast. It is raining today here.
Ready to soak up that holiday sunshine?
Won't we need some cover?
No worries. All sorted.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across Europe over the next couple of days, with plenty of showers around across parts of France, even northern parts of Italy too. Maybe even Madeira and the Canary Islands catching 1 or 2 isolated showers. But for parts of Spain, Portugal, Italy, even parts of Greece, there's plenty of sunshine on offer. And the southern Mediterranean is seeing plenty of that sunshine, though perhaps a little breezy. Temperatures generally in the low to mid 30s and similar through the outlook as well. Plenty of sunshine on the cards and feeling very warm.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Exciting news. Every Friday, my Patrick Christie's Tonight Show is going to have a twist to it. We're welcoming some special guests. You. That's right, on Fridays I'm going to be doing my show in front of a live studio audience because this show is about you and what you have to say. It's going to be the same big debates, same big topics, same big opinions. But every Friday night at 9 p.m, you are invited to come on down to Patrick Christie's Tonight to be a part of the action. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/your say. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/your say, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In the GB Newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Welcome back. It's 3:51 in the afternoon. You're watching Now No Queer Show, but with me, Emily. I just saw an email come in, Chris. Chris Worrell's here, and also Kane Blackwell, saying, Emily, I don't think I've agreed with Chris Worrell in any of the debates that I've watched. I assumed he was going to say, but this time... And he says, and today I don't have any reason to alter my opinion. So there you go, David. Harsh from David, but yes, sorry. You'll have to win him over next time. Win him over next time. But let's move on, because this is a bizarre one. I mean, I think we all saw this coming, yes. Elon Musk's artificial intelligence company, yes, it's launched new AI-powered companions, is what they're calling them. So this enables users to interact with customizable animated characters. OK, you know, some people might like that, but the National Centre on Sexual Exploitation has called for the removal of one of these chatbot animation things called Annie due to concerns over their childlike appearance and potential promotion of high-risk sexual behaviour. And it's got me thinking about how some people, Tom Harwood, like talking to chatbots. I'm just joking. He just uses it as a Google search engine. But could people actually decide that they prefer who they're talking to on AI,
I mean,
than actually the real deal? I mean, it's already happening sort of in Japan and places, isn't it?
Well, it's a bit odd. Look, I mean, I'm a bit desperate, but I'm not that desperate.
I don't know. You might get, you might find love.
Well, I just think it's weird. What's wrong with people? Honestly, like, we really do need to get back to basics sometimes with just like everything in the world at the moment.
But this is the problem. You have these. Let's just neurodivergent, probably billionaires who are involved in this tech space who think, oh, well, what's wrong with, having a bot as your boyfriend, Chris? What's wrong with it,
Well, clearly there's definitely a market for it if they're going to be out there selling. And the loneliness is increasing at a huge rate. Whether or not this will help it, I don't know. I just, remember, was it Clippy from Microsoft? That was probably like the first ever interaction I've ever had with a chatbot. But God knows where it's going now. I mean, it's a bit worrying when they're talking about this sort of child.
You just reminded me, when I was a teenager, I used to play a lot of Sims, or maybe when I was 12, 13. Yeah. Anyway, I got an expansion pack called Sims Hot Date.
Oh, right.
So, obviously,
there's the market.
Maybe it's similar to that. So, The Sims, if you don't know at home, is basically where you create a life for your little human beings, and you create a home for them, and they go out for work, and they can have relationships and arguments with other sim people. And I obviously bought the Hot Date expansion pack. Probably didn't tell my parents. And the whole idea was, to find a relationship. Wow. So is this that dissimilar?
I don't know. It is odd. But,
he doesn't know what to say.
Yeah. I do know what to say. But I take Chris's point about loneliness. I don't think this is the way.
I'm going to have to shut you up there. Sorry. We've come to the end of the hour, and up next we're going to be talking about the Afghan asylum scandal and whether lawyers are running the country. That's after the weather.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers, and when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across the very far south, but even in the north, those temperatures reaching into the low 20s. As we then go through Sunday evening, continuing to see those showers swirling around that area of low pressure. Again, these turning heavy and thundery in nature as we go into the start of the new week. And the outlook is remaining pretty similar. Plenty of showers on the cards for many of us, though temperatures still around average for the time of year, but feeling pleasant where you do catch the sunshine.
There will be a light breeze in the morning, leading to a warm front. Boxed heat pumps, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Imagine having an extra £1,000 to spend each week for an entire year. £54,321 in tax-free cash could be yours. Cash to spend however you like. £54,321 in cash could be landing in your bank account this year. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country. There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor. Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster's full of talk, but out here, it's the real world.
Am I allowed to talk
No,
now?
that's it. This is where it matters, real people and real lives. That's what politics is all about.
In fact, has Trump made a good start? No.
Straight answers, no spin, and just a couple of pints. How many fingers have I got up?
About 10.
So join me for Lee Anderson's Real World every Friday at 7 p.m, only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's political podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's political podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
It's Patrick Christie's Tonight, and here we do things differently. It's explaining the absolute madness of this, doesn't it? It's explosive. I mean, this is very good. It's lively.
850. Your government sat there, Sean, and it did nothing.
It's controversial. And the Middle East has been in turmoil since before I was born. It's everything you need to kickstart your evening. Everyone's had their Weetabix tonight. I love to see it. That's Patrick Christie's Tonight, weeknights from 9 p.m. Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, welcome along. It's 4 o'clock now, and this is the Nana Akua show, but with me, Emily Carver. I'm going to be keeping you company with all the very latest news until 6 o'clock. Worth noting, it is Nana Akua's birthday, so do wish her a happy birthday as well with me. But here's what's coming up on the show today. Yes, out in full force, thousands of pro-Palestine protesters have descended on central London once again. The Metropolitan Police have now confirmed more than 50 arrests have been made of those allegedly expressing support for Palestine action. Afghan migrants granted asylum in the UK have brought as many as 22 family members with them. This comes after a judge ruled that family member did not have to mean a blood or a legal connection to the applicant. Is Britain being taken for a ride? Elsewhere, Keir Starmer is apparently planning a presidential-style shake-up of his Downing Street team, reportedly in efforts to stop dysfunction of his government. But is this a desperate power grab from a Prime Minister in trouble? Elsewhere, Labour have hit out at the Reform Party, claiming their so-called war on net zero would cost up to 1 million jobs. Reform say it would boost jobs. And President Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit accusing Rupert Murdoch and the Wall Street Journal of defamation over an explosive Epstein-linked story. Is this a fight for reputation? Another media war? Two of the most powerful men in the world at loggerheads. But is he also risking losing his MAGA support base? Well, all of that to come. Do stick with us this afternoon, but let's get the news with Bethany.
Emily, thank you. Good afternoon. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom at 4:01. At least 30 people have been injured. 3 of them are in a critical condition after a vehicle ploughed into a crowd in Los Angeles. The incident took place in Santa Monica Boulevard, which is close to Hollywood. It's understood the driver of the car may have lost consciousness at the wheel. Captain Adam Vangapan from the LA Fire Department spoke to press at the scene.
Our firefighters were dispatched out to a traffic accident. On arrival, they found a large group of people standing outside of a club. There's a taco truck there, and apparently a vehicle had driven through the taco truck, through the valet, and into the crowd. So when our firefighters arrived on scene, they quickly called for additional resources. So we had a total of 124 firefighters were here on scene. There's about 25 LAPD officers that came out to assist us.
55 people have been arrested in central London for showing support for the proscribed terrorist group Palestine Action. Thousands of protesters gathered in Parliament Square and police intervened after some displayed placards in favour of the group. Officers say they advised the demonstrators to put down the signs, but they refused. They were arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act. The US president is seeking $10 billion in damages from the Wall Street Journal and its owner, Rupert Murdoch. It's after the paper alleged that Donald Trump sent a birthday message to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. President Donald Trump insists the letter is fake and is accusing the publication and 2 of its reporters of defamation. The paper's parent company, Dow Jones, said it will defend its reporting vigorously. At least 32 people have been killed by Israeli fire on their way to an aid distribution site in Gaza. The Israeli military claim they fired warning shots at suspects who approached its troops, but Gaza residents say they heard no warnings. Israel and Hamas are engaged in indirect talks in Qatar aimed at reaching a 60-day ceasefire, but there's currently no sign of any imminent breakthrough. Thousands of Afghans whose personal details were leaked but who were not evacuated to Britain are not expected to receive any compensation. The Ministry of Defence says the government would robustly defend any legal action or bid for damages, adding that these are hypothetical claims. The data breach saw names and details of 19,000 people, including Afghans applying for the British relocation scheme, with many now saying they fear being targeted by the Taliban. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Welcome back to the Nana Akua Show. It is now 4:04. I'm Emily Carver, standing in for Nana. Now, let's return to the ongoing scandal that is this Afghan resettlement scheme, the secret Afghan resettlement scheme. Because it turns out that Afghan migrants have brought as many as 22 family members to the UK after relatives previously rejected for asylum were allowed in following the military data breach. Now, the government have said that Afghans who were flown to Britain brought an average of 8 family members with them, and this comes as it's revealed lawyers are attempting to use the European Court of Human Rights, the human rights laws, to force the government into accepting tens of thousands more individuals. Well, I can now speak with the first British Afghan Conservative candidate in the UK, Darius Naisimi. Darius, thank you very much for coming and speaking to us this afternoon. It does seem crazy that one individual could bring 22 family members.
I'm not sure that every person who came to the UK through the ACRS or the Arab scheme brought 22 people with them. I think once people arrived to the UK through the evacuation and the ACRS programme, they had the right to bring additional family members. And this is completely in line with the government's promise that they made to people. Some people may have brought other family members and people who may not be direct family members, but there are lots of people whose family members are still stuck over there.
Well, that's very much the suggestion, Darius, because one High Court judge ruled that actually family member doesn't have to actually mean family at all. It doesn't have to mean blood relative. It doesn't have to mean even legally a family member. So surely that opens up, well, it rather broadens the definition that most British people would consider to be a family member.
Yeah, and I think that was something that maybe the Home Office should have put clearer regulations in place, because from my understanding, we know lots of people in the UK whose wives, their husbands, or the children are still stuck in Afghanistan, and they've been separated for over 3 years. And the majority of these people are still living in bridging hotels, in accommodation. And this data breach of 19,000 people whose details have been leaked or disclosed in some way, they're also concerned about what the Taliban is going to do with those details, because some of these people are working for the special
Absolutely,
forces.
and Darius, but you must see that a lot of British people will be thinking, how on earth can we afford to have 22 family members come along with one individual? That then means refugee status. That then means free accommodation, healthcare, education, potential welfare benefits, etc., everything that comes along with it. And the cost is just totally extravagant, enormous. The average, apparently, is for someone to bring 8 people with them, which again seems absolutely extraordinary. Defence ministers at the time wanted only it to be married couples and their children. I'm sorry, but I don't believe that there's 22 children to one person. Do you, Darius?
No, I don't think that's the case either. And I think the other problem is also some of these families are quite, they have lots of family members. And that's why there was the housing crisis as well. But I don't think, I mean, having only 20,000 people, which was the Arab and the ACRS scheme, that was not a fair number, I would say. Now, your point about welfare and benefits and this, I think lots of people are now working, they're contributing to the economy. They are, their children go to school, some of them are working as well. So
unfortunately, it's going to be very difficult for people to be net contributors if you look at the statistics. But Darius, I take your point. Darius Naisimi, really appreciate you coming on. The first British Afghan Conservative candidate in the United Kingdom. Well, I do want to just remind you of the news today. 55 people have now been confirmed to have been arrested in central London. This for allegedly showing support for the prescribed terrorist group Palestine Action. There has been a huge protest in central London, thousands of protesters gathering in Parliament Square. The police have been forced to intervene after some of the people at that protest were displaying placards in favour of Palestine Action, the now prescribed group. So officers are saying that they advised the demonstrators to put down the signs, but they refused, and so a number have been arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act. So yes, 55 arrests, which is a lot of arrests. Anyway, we're going to move on because Donald Trump has filed a $10 billion lawsuit against Rupert Murdoch and reporters at the Wall Street Journal. Yes, Donald Trump is accusing them of defamation after the paper published a letter allegedly written by Trump to Jeffrey Epstein. Now, Trump has since called the letter fake and claims the report has caused serious reputational and also financial damage. Let's speak to the chair of Republicans Overseas, Greg Swenson, on this. I mean, Greg, this is quite an extraordinary story, and obviously it's catching the imagination of Americans and the world. You've got two very powerful men here, clearly at loggerheads. Donald Trump wanting to take Rupert Murdoch to court, potentially.
Yeah, I think he's got a good case in this. This is old news. A lot of it was just regurgitated. It's 23 years old. But on the other hand, there is no evidence of this letter existing. The Wall Street Journal did not provide the letter to the White House when they were confirming the story. And I'm not sure they even saw the letter, if there is one. And so, you've seen the comments that the President Trump just doesn't speak like that. He's never used the word enigma. He's never been one to doodle or draw, cartoons. It's just very unlikely And also, if this letter did exist, it surely would have been released during the Biden administration, that's for sure. So, I mean, the president's squeaky clean on this whole Jeffrey Epstein thing. You know, he had him removed from Mar-a-Lago, his club. He cut off all communications with him as soon as the unpleasant information about Epstein came out in the early 2000s. So there's not much to this, but, you know, the mainstream media, they tried it. You know, they tried it with the Russia collusion hoax, the 51 intelligence officials, the Charlottesville hoax. There's just a real record of the media trying to.
I mean, Greg, though, would be a pretty bold move for the Wall Street Journal to publish knowingly a letter that either didn't exist or was not from Donald Trump. Do you believe that the Wall Street Journal would do that?
I don't believe the Wall Street Journal would have done that in the old days. I've been reading the Journal for 45 years, and it used to be a great paper, but it's really been overtaken in the news division, not the opinion pages, but in the news division. It's really been overrun with former Politico reporters. I thought, you know, there's been some really interesting information that's coming out. And they also went through that sort of protest movement that a lot of newsrooms went through in the early Biden years, or maybe it was the late Trump years, late first term, where there was such a hatred for Trump that a lot of the young reporters were marching up to the editors and protesting. And I think the Journal has changed. And I think, you know, I cut off my subscription yesterday.
Right. OK. So in sort of protest at this.
Yeah, and it's a shame because I love the opinion pages. I've been reading them religiously forever, and it was a great newspaper, and it's also compromised the other Fox properties. You know, if you look at the New York Post, which was really led the charge on the Hunter Biden laptop and the collusion amongst the Biden family cartel. And then you have Fox News as well. And so it's put them in a really awkward spot, and it's really a shame.
But Greg, what if it does turn out that this letter was written, this lewd letter was written, and that the Wall Street Journal published something that was legitimate? Will you sign back up to the Wall Street Journal?
Look, if by some small probability the letter ends up being legit, I highly doubt it, given the track record of the media on all these other hoaxes. But if it was, it's old news, right? You know, they had a relationship. Remember, Donald Trump was in 1980s and 90s New York playboy. He ran in that circle. It does not surprise me.
Yes, that's not news, yes.
Yeah, it's old news. I mean, you know, so he sent him a birthday greeting. I mean, again, not likely, but I do believe that President Trump, if there was anything disparaging about the president, surely the Obama or the Biden White House would have leaked that, especially during an election year. So
and how's this playing, Greg, with the MAGA supporters, the base, with the online? People have been commenting that the online right are disappointed in Donald Trump. Let's say people like Joe Rogan, the podcasters who lent him their support. Yeah, look, I think they're disappointed not about this letter. I think they're as critical of the Wall Street Journal, again, because they've had so much experience with these hoaxes that have been perpetrated by the anti-Trump media. But they are disappointed with the fact that the White House or the Justice Department did not release the so-called Epstein files. Now, the president has since pivoted on that. He asked the Justice Department to approach the judge or the courts that control that. They don't have the power to release it, to be clear. It has to be approved by a judge. So they have gone to the court and asked for that information to be released. And then it'll probably just put this thing to rest. But I do understand there was real frustration from the online right about the fact that they had promised to release the Epstein files, and then they pivoted on that. Yeah, exactly. They were promised transparency, weren't they? I'm just saying, just to what you were saying, Donald Trump 2 hours ago on his Truth Social network, I've asked the Justice Department to release all grand jury testimony with respect to Jeffrey Epstein, subject only to court approval. With that being said, and even if the court gave its full and unwavering approval, nothing will be good enough for the troublemakers and radical left lunatics making the request. It will always be more, MAGA! Exclamation mark. So we'll leave it there, Greg. Thank you very much indeed for joining me on the show today. That's Greg Swenson, the chair of the Republicans Overseas Group. Well, let us know your thoughts on all of that, but you do have just 2 weeks remaining to enter our Great British Giveaway. That's £54,321 in tax-free cash. Here's how you can enter.
There's just 2 weeks left to see how you can win our biggest cash prize so far. £54,321 in tax-free cash is up for grabs in our summer Great British giveaway. Cash to spend on anything you like. All of that cash could send you on a holiday, boost your savings, or just send some of those day-to-day financial stresses packing. Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus 1 standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus 1 standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
There you go. Now coming up on the Nana Quiz Show, we have Labour. They're hitting out at Reform UK's net zero policies. They're describing their policies as a war against net zero, and they say it would cost up to 1 million jobs. Of course, the Reform Party would vehemently deny that. We're going to debate it, though, next on GB News.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Well, in the past few minutes, Meghan Markle has paid a sweet tribute to Princess Lilibet as she turns 4 today. It comes just a day after the Duchess of Sussex said she'd love to go into business with her daughter in the future.
Well, that's all it is, another money-making effort there. That's to make up for nobody buying her jam. I mean, do you really care if you see a picture of her kid or not? You do, that's it.
I'd like to see her face, to be honest.
I don't. Now, back to Diana, of course, who was the real star and style icon and whatever. And one day I complimented her on her outfit that she was wearing, and it was the same colour as the outfit you were wearing yesterday.
Bottle green?
No. RUC green, Royal Ulster Constabulary green, as she pointed out to me. She said, yes, RUC green, what do you think? And then she went into a whole, literally, sob story. She started crying about a bomb explosion that had been in Northern Ireland or whatever. She was very, very close, very connected with all of that. But, yeah, so...
And knowledgeable as well, by the sound of things.
She was very knowledgeable, yeah. And then she went on to talk about William and Harry going to school and how that upset her, and they went to boarding school or whatever it is. So we talked about all those things. And I forgot why I was going to tell you that story, but there was some reason. But she was... it was the same colour as what you were wearing yesterday, anyway, the green.
And she was so lovely by the sounds of things.
She was film star status. I mean, you just saw her in a room and you would go...
Wow.
She's special, yeah, she's special.
And I think whoever that was speaking in that report there saying, one of the designers, there was the designer of the wedding dress, saying it was just clothes or just a dress, but then Diana wore it and then it was something special. Absolutely. And it became part of history. And that's exactly what happened.
GB News, the People's Channel.
At GB News, we are proud to stand for you. For the Britain you love, for the communities you live in. That's what makes us the fearless champions of Britain. Its voices and its values. Because we, at GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Duke, Britain's news channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to the Nana Queer Show this Saturday afternoon. It's 4:21. I'm Emily Carver. I'm covering for Nana because it's her birthday, so wish her a happy birthday. But we're going to turn our attention to Labour's latest attack line on the Reform Party. They're saying that Reform UK's war on net zero would cost this country 1 million jobs. Yes, the Minister for Energy, Michael Shanks, has accused Nigel Farage's party of having an anti-jobs, anti-growth ideology. Well, the comments come after Deputy Leader of Reform UK, Richard Tice, wrote to energy companies urging them not to invest in the latest round of green energy contracts. He's essentially put them on notice. Well, should we speak to the Director of Net Zero Watch, Andrew Mumford, about this? Andrew, so would scrapping all this net zero stuff cost our economy 1 million jobs?
I think that's extremely unlikely. There's the number of jobs that have been created in renewable energy is really rather small because most of the work is done overseas. You know, the solar panels are made in China. The wind farms are made in places like the Middle East. So no, I don't think it would hit 1 million jobs. What it would do is save enormous numbers of jobs because net zero has raised our electricity prices so high that it's hugely damaging to our economy. We are industrializing at the most astonishing rate, and this next renewables auction round that Ed Miliband is touting was essentially going to be catastrophic for our energy prices. You know, we think they're high now. We have estimated that the next auction round would increase electricity prices by another 60%, 60%. That would be a catastrophe. So Richard Tice has been quite right to say, guys, don't do this, because if we did go ahead and do it, there would be a national emergency and essentially investors would lose their shirts. They would lose everything. So by not entering, he's saving them and he's saving the country. So yeah, well done, Mr. Tice.
Yeah, I mean, Andrew, you're obviously completely correct when you say that energy prices are costing jobs. I mean, to do industry in this country, even to run a pub, is extremely expensive because of those very facts, pushing up the prices of everything you have to buy and just the cost of running the pub day to day, etc., etc. I'd be quite interested, actually, and perhaps your organisation could do this, do some research, basically a comparison between, I don't know, if energy costs were 10% lower or 20% lower or 30% lower, how many jobs would still exist or would be gained because of that? Because it must be an extraordinary, extraordinary number. But are Reform UK promising too much when it comes to energy? Because they are saying that getting rid of net zero would essentially lead to huge amounts of economic growth and it would transform this country. Is that a too big a promise?
That's a very interesting question, actually. The situation we're going to be in is what Richard Tice has proposed is not actually going to bring our electricity prices down. It's just going to stop them going up much further. Okay, now if we want to get back to economic growth, we have to get prices down. Now that is a much more difficult problem because we have all these wind farms and solar farms which have guaranteed subsidies, and you can't just take those subsidies away from them. Indeed, the green blob, you know, the energy department, Whitehall, has written the contracts in a way that makes it extremely difficult for a future government to back out of them. So,
oh really? Would they then be sued, Andrew? Is that the issue?
Correct. It would end up in court, and you know it's likely that the government would lose. Essentially, we may be stuck with these incredibly high electricity prices for decades, and there may be no way out. Now, that is a really serious problem because our economy is in dire straits already, and the only way back to growth, as I've said before, is through low energy prices. And the green blob may have killed us here.
I mean, all I want for Christmas is lower energy bills for everyone. It really would be a boon for this country. But Andrew Mumford, thank you very much indeed. Director of Net Zero Watch, as ever. Let's see what my panel make of this. We have Kane Blackwell and we also have Chris Worrell with me this afternoon. Let's start with you, Chris.
Well, I think Richard Tice here is a bit of a moron, really. He can't be going out here. destroying...
He's not here to defend himself, Chris.
I mean, I'm sure
he would deny being that.
He was, yeah. 700,000 people are employed in this sector. It grows 4 times faster than the rest of the employment market at this moment in time. And he's out there publicly trying to destroy, on purpose, investor confidence. It doesn't make sense. And if we are going to be looking at, you know, the statistics around green jobs, for every 10 created, there's another 27 additional. And I don't agree with that person dialing in just there, because it's demonstrably... It is at about 3.3% of all jobs in the country, but it's growing at 34%.
You'll have spoken to trade unions, though, on this, and I have, and they're concerned that there aren't the sort of hands-on real jobs, those sort of traditional industry jobs, because, as Andrew said there, a lot of those types of jobs are being done elsewhere, and what we've got is sort of consultancy office jobs that are related to energy policy, related to green things.
You're right.
Rather than those kind of... I
think I do agree with the unions on this. Like, we do need sort of energy-efficient products that are produced in the UK, but I'm not green net zero zealot. We need more gas exploration while we're importing it from other places.
You want a bit of everything?
Yeah, well, transitional period, yeah. Well, let's get there as quickly as possible, and, you know, if we've got to get a bit more gas out of the North Sea, or oil, rather, then so be it. So I think it's just a sort of... But bringing it back to the debate, you know, I think Michael Shanks called it clown car economics from Richard Tice, which is probably fitting.
Is it, Kane?
I don't think it's clown car economics. I mean, we're paying a staggering £30 billion a year on net zero projects, you know. But look, people didn't really vote for all of this. They really didn't vote for all of this. I mean, all that net zero... that net zero legislation was passed in the dying days of Theresa May's government. You know, it wasn't like big Tory policy or anything like that, because, I mean, if it was, it wouldn't have got through.
Let's say the Conservatives have been very confusing. I mean, Theresa May signed us up...
I mean, some of us haven't been confused,
legally to net zero targets, so...
Yeah, I mean, I think it's wrong. And, look, what I would say about net zero and sort of the climate emergency is that I used to be an estate agent, right? And
unlucky.
I know. And if people wanted to buy a house...
Were you a good one?
I thought it was pretty good. But look, if people wanted to buy a house by the sea, they can do so. If the sea was going to swallow up those houses, and, you know, there's going to be fires everywhere in like 5-10 years' time, no mortgage lender would lend anyone money to buy a house by the sea.
You're saying they don't actually believe it?
No, of course they don't. That's how you know, because people are still out investing, able to get mortgages. And one person who has talked down this country and made sure investment has been bad was Rachel Reeves, by coming out and saying, oh, we've got this 22 billion black hole, it's terrible, everything's really bad. So if anyone's really talking down the country, it's Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer.
Well, we all remember that Rose Garden speech from Sir Keir Starmer. Was that in his first week as Prime Minister, basically telling us all things are going to get so much worse before they eventually get better? I think that wasn't great for the markets either.
He was right about that, though.
But Wendy's got in touch. She said the net zero industry is highly subsidised. It does not create wealth. It drains taxpayer money. Cheap energy is crucial to a growing economy. Just look online at the green consultancy mumbo-jumbo jobs. Neil says there are no new jobs. These are old jobs being replaced by subsidised jobs. Yes, even if 500,000 jobs were lost, would they just go elsewhere? I don't know. That's the thing. You know, you can't really say. What else have we got?
We can't be having, like, you know...
Green jobs pay buttons, Joe says. Oil and gas folks are off to overseas projects. Don't forget, hydrocarbons not only produce energy...
You can't have net zero turning into, like, net losers. There are jobs there. Wind is cheaper than gas a lot of the time, right? There's a lot of reasons. And we talk about...
We don't make the wind farms, though, do we?
You know, houses falling into the sea. No, we don't make the wind farms, but I think they started doing that, or they're looking to do that, even though £1.8 billion project did leave the UK. So you're literally pushing away investment. That, I think, was a Danish company. The point being is that we've seen in California and places like Miami, like, you know, these climate change incident disasters are happening more and more often. And if it's going to happen, why can't we get there to at least protect ourselves sooner?
They're different places. And the idea that we should base our energy policy on the weather of this country is absolutely mad. We never know what the weather's like. If it's sunny, we're all out and having a great time. If it's raining like it is today, you know, we sit in...
Denmark's 80% wind farms, and they cover most of their electricity through that. It's not saying we've got to do it all the way. We should do a bit of gas, Bit of net zero and a bit of oil.
How's GB Energy doing? Because the last time I looked at Ed Miliband's big project, the only jobs they were advertising were entry-level civil servant jobs.
Well, I think the nuclear one's probably a bit more of a success story.
Bit of a flop, hasn't it, been so far, Chris?
Well, the EDF have done a sort of national programme around jobs in the nuclear industry. If we're going to talk about that net zero, I do think nuclear should form part of that. It is carbon, it's most carbon efficient you can get. They have announced, the small modular reactor has been given to Rolls-Royce. So these things do create jobs. But the point being is you can't be here talking down investors into this country.
No, I do agree with you on that. I don't think it's wise to start telling people what they should and shouldn't invest in.
Don't invest in the UK,
but
guys.
I also don't think that the government should set such a strict regulatory, environment whereby people can't invest in things that they want to. But Alistair gets in touch and says, as a union rep and offshore branch secretary, net zero is badly managed by Miliband. You can't just close oil and gas. We need it for many, many years to come. Prices will continue to rise as we'll need to import it and then have no control over where we get it.
He's right.
Chris is correct. Oil and gas needs to remain. An electrician earns 80k offshore. To move to renewables, he will only earn 35 and have to be a mechanic and many other trades for less. It's nonsense. Yes, those jobs off of the North Sea, highly, you get a lot of want for those, but they're all going to have to move to Indonesia and things. I know someone whose companies, because of all this, the taxes and because of Ed Miliband's decisions, probably going to have to go to Indonesia, it's not going to help the climate, is it? Just moving the oil exploration somewhere else. But anyway, coming up, Labour are under fire for failing to provide figures on how many deportations of foreign criminals have been blocked by court appeals because apparently they don't actually have the data. Good grief. Let's get the latest news headlines.
The headlines from the GB newsroom at 4:30. At least 30 people have been injured. 3 of those are in a critical condition after a vehicle ploughed into a crowd in Los Angeles. Donald Trump is suing the Wall Street Journal and its owner, Rupert Murdoch, for $10 billion after the paper alleged he sent a birthday message to the late sex offender Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. At least 32 people have been killed by Israeli fire on their way to an aid distribution site in Gaza. The Israeli military claim they fired warning shots, but Gaza residents say they heard no warnings before the firing began. Premature babies will be offered a new vaccine against the potentially life-threatening infection RSV from this autumn. The Met Office is warning thunderstorms and torrential rain this weekend could pose a risk to life, power cuts and transport disruption. You're up to date. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers, and when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across the very far south, but even in the north, those temperatures reaching into the low 20s. As we then go through Sunday evening, continuing to see those showers swirling around that area of low pressure. Again, these turning heavy and thundery in nature as we go into the start of the new week. And the outlook is remaining pretty similar. Plenty of showers on the cards for many of us, though temperatures still around average for the time of year, but feeling pleasant where you do catch the sunshine.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Westminster, the ultimate clique. And you're fighting like rats in a sack. But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask. OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician. Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off-limits. You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it. That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless. But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show. Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Right, welcome along. Welcome back to the Nano Quiz Show on GB News with me, Emily Carver, this afternoon. Now, Labour are under fire for failing to provide figures on how many deportations of foreign criminals have been blocked by court appeals. Yes, Home Office Minister Lord Hanson admitted his department lacks data on the number of removal attempts, despite the government deporting over 4,000 individuals since the election. Now, the Home Secretary, Yvette Cooper, has pledged to strengthen legislation after widespread criticism. But what is going on here? Well, I can speak with Conservative MP Matt Vickers. Matt, thank you very much indeed for joining us on this one. I mean, we have a huge problem, don't we, in government when it comes to data. I mean, is this Labour's fault that we don't actually know how many deportations have been blocked by the courts?
I think it's currently Labour's fault that so many people are being blocked by the courts, regardless of the number. We want to stop it happening. This thing has gone through the roof. We've heard about chicken nugget gate. We've heard about the carry-on with the guy who was going to be deported but didn't fancy getting a shave when he arrived there. He thought it would, impede on his human rights. Absolutely ridiculous. But the whole immigration situation, however bad it was before the general election, actually, there was a deterrent in place. Legislation was in place that was going to allow us to detain and remove people who came to this country. The number of people in hotels was going down. The number of people being removed was going up. And since the election, the number of people arriving in the country illegally is up 57%. The number of those arriving in small boats and being removed is down.
Yes, but Matt Vickers, you still had the same problem, didn't you, with the ECHR, with the European Court of Human Rights, which is allowing things like chicken nugget gate, isn't it? I mean, I'm reading today in the Telegraph that yet another Albanian convicted burglar can't be deported, apparently, probably because of his human rights. Well, he's got an 80-grand Mercedes with a personalised number plate, apparently taunting the Home Office today. I mean, it's an absolute joke. The Conservatives didn't sort this. Kemi Badenoch's still just discussing whether to leave the European Court of Human Rights. Surely it's time to take a stance, Matt.
Well, it's entirely insane that you see this geezer driving around in his £80,000 Merc with his latest watch and all of it. It's bonkers.
That's a slap in the face to Brits, isn't it?
It is. And if you come to this country illegally, if you come to this country and you commit crime, you should be removed. No ifs, no buts. So you saw the bill come forward, their national border security bill and nationality bill or whatever. We had amendments in there. There was literally, we could change the legislation. It was in there. There was a vote. We had two amendments. One was to say, if you come to this country illegally if you come to this country and commit a crime, including entering the country illegally, you should be removed. That was, at the moment, you've got to commit a crime that gets you a sentence of more than 12 months. We put an amendment forward that said, no, if you commit a crime, you're going. We then put forward an amendment that said if you come to this country and you commit crime, the ECH, the Human Rights Act, the thing that helped the guy with Chicken Nugget Gate, the thing that helped the guy who didn't want to go back because he didn't want to have to get a shave, was actually the Human Rights Act in domestic courts. We said we should disapply the Human Rights Act to any case that's about deportation or immigration.
I mean, these lawyers are having a field day, aren't they, really? I mean, the story today that an Afghan national who arrived in this country through the now not secret, but resettlement scheme, 22 family members. Matt, come on, that is Matt Vickers. Sorry, that is crazy.
They are taking the pee. It's absolutely being abused, and the only way you do that is by the likes of disapplying the Human Rights Act and by actually deporting these people. I mean, do you know what? If we think that we know that Keir Starmer is not the man to sort this out. This is a guy who's voted against every single measure that was brought forward to toughen up our immigration system, and we talk about deporting foreign criminals. This is the guy who was
It's the same problem, different colour government, though, isn't it, Matt Vickers?
He's actively campaigning against the removal. If we think he's going to do anything to sort it, then, what planet are we operating on?
Do you think your government, or at least the Ministry of Defence, ministers at the time, sort of rushed a little bit with this Afghan resettlement scheme? Of course, it was all hush-hush and all kept secret from the public, but the numbers of people, we're hearing that a lot of people didn't really have genuine claims, and it was all rushed, and it all happened so quickly that, we haven't even got the right people coming over here, not even the ones who actually worked with the British forces. I mean, are we a bit of a joke, Matt Vickers?
Well, I think it is a joke. I mean, the thing with the Afghan thing, the leaking of that data and putting those people at risk was an absolute shambles. It was a disaster. Does the government owe it to people who we put their lives at risk because their names are published online by a leak of our own MOD? Of course we do. It should never, ever, ever have been allowed to happen. So yeah, there was a meeting in the middle, and you do need to support those people who you put at risk. But this thing is off the charts. When you talk about deportations of foreign criminals, it's just not acceptable. The situation cannot continue as it is. But we have got a guy in number 10 who's done everything he can to weaken our immigration system, who's done everything he can to campaign against the removal of foreign criminals. He's actively signing letters saying don't send them back. And we're going to sort the problem out. That's balmy. Why on earth would we have any confidence that he's going to do anything about it?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, you've got judges, so we're hearing that this High Court judge ruled essentially that a family member has nothing to do with being a blood relative nor legally a family member, and that cultural considerations need to be taken into account and the rest of it. I mean, this is progressivism gone mad. Surely this is judicial activism. What would a Conservative government do about this that they didn't do previously,
But there was a huge disconnect between the courts, these judges, and the people of this country. MPs, we get some people in there with some very bizarre ideas, but actually they're accountable. You can kick them out. There is a responsibility there. I don't think the population doesn't think it's right that this happens. The people who you send to represent you on the whole don't think it should happen. But these judges seem to have artistic license to go in there and do what the hell they want with some of these cases. Nobody thinks the chicken nugget guy should be allowed to stay. And well, nobody in the right mind, probably Lord Perma, but nobody thinks that someone shouldn't be deported because they don't like having a shave.
Well,
it needs to be fixed. The reality is, what would the Conservatives do? The Conservatives would do exactly what we put forwards in that Nationality and Borders Bill to A, deport anyone who comes to this country and commits a crime, and B, disapply the Human Rights Act from any of these cases to do with immigration and deportation. If you come here and you commit a crime, you should be removed. If you break into this country, illegally entering this country, you should
Sounds good, Matt Vickers. It does sound good, but we shall see. Thank you very much.
I can be your immigration mission. I'll sort them all out.
Yeah, there's a bit of a trust deficit, isn't there? But Matt Vickers, as well as our huge financial one. Matt Vickers, Conservative MP and Shadow Minister for Policing, thank you very much indeed for your time. Well, political commentator Kane Blackwell is with us, and former Labour activist Chris Worrell. He's had enough of the Labour Party for now. Chris, what do you make of that? A lot of people will agree with what Matt Vickers had to say there, but of course there is that trust issue.
I mean, the devil's in the detail there with the civil service. I mean, it's got more red tape than a Christmas warehouse, some of these guys, and the way that they can't even get the data on the deportations is just beyond belief. If you like, we are watching our institutions, trusting them, crumble, and that is then being you know, put onto the politicians who are sat there getting the runaround by these civil services and civil servants.
It's interesting because a lot of people on the left always leap to the defence of the civil service. You can't say anything bad about the civil service. It's all, you know, when you were an advisor to Priti Patel, everything was Priti Patel's fault rather than the civil service behind her. Yeah. What do you think?
Well, look, I personally, I would like to see us get rid of sort of the civil service model that we have and actually get people from like business and the best walks of life into the departments.
You'd have to pay them a lot, wouldn't you?
Yeah, but you know what? I'd rather us actually have efficient run government departments than what we have at the moment. You know, these career civil servants who actually are not doing the job that they're meant to be doing. Anyway, we're paying them absolutely ridiculous amounts of money anyway, so who cares if we're going to send it to someone who actually could do the job? But, I mean, but you're right, with you know, Priti was actually getting letters from Labour MPs calling for the deportations of rapists to be stopped. Like, these are Labour MPs, so the idea, Matt's right, the idea...
Hang on, Priti Patel was receiving letters from Labour MPs saying, don't deport this rapist because he's an upstanding member of the community?
Exactly.
Or something to that effect.
To something to that effect, yeah. And you're exactly right. It's mad. It's honestly mad. So these people are now in charge. The adults are in charge.
I'll never understand people who sit in front of an aeroplane, figuratively perhaps, and say, no, 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 don't deport this man who's raped someone. I mean... Yeah. What's the point of, you know, having a country if you can't pick and choose who's in it? Anyway, Kane Blackwell and Chris Worrell, thank you very much for now. If you're in search of some holiday sun, here's the forecast.
Can't wait to get in that sea.
Lovely and warm.
Just like the feeling of having great travel insurance.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across Europe over the next couple of days, with plenty of showers around across parts of France, even northern parts of Italy too. Maybe even Madeira and the Canary Islands catching one or two isolated showers. But for parts of Spain, Portugal, Italy, even parts of Greece, there's plenty of sunshine on offer. And the southern Mediterranean seeing plenty of that sunshine, though perhaps a little breezy. Temperatures generally in the low to mid-30s and similar through the outlook as well. Plenty of sunshine on the cards and feeling very warm.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
Welcome back to Britain's Newsroom with Andrew and Beth.
Hello everyone, Patrick Christie's here.
I'm Michelle Jewell, Britain's News Channel.
Access the stories that matter to you. Take the GB News family with you on any device. And as long as you have an internet connection, tune in to GB News anywhere on the planet or beyond. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
So he can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation, isn't it? Because the failure is...
You're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co weeknights at 6 p.m, only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Britain was once the envy of the world, but look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m, only on GB News.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Welcome back to the Nano Quiz Show with me, Emily Carver, today. Dubbing Needle's got in touch, says Chris Worrell is right about the obstructionist civil service, in my opinion. David says, wow, Worrell sounds as though he's had the conversion on the road to Damascus. So there you go. You've got some cheerleaders today, Chris.
Joining the dark
Always
side.
nice. Now he's left the Labour Party. Just joking. Anyway, a man didn't get very far after he began running down the course at the Tour de France. Yes, from the video that we're looking at here, a guard wrapped up the protester, shoved him against the wall separating the track from the viewing area, and the protester was wearing a shirt that said Israel out of the Tour. So I thought I'd just show you that clip because it's gone absolutely viral. He really, a heavy-handed approach, but I think that's what needs to be done when it's sporting events. We've seen similar with the marathon. I think it was Just Stop Oil in that case who decided to launch themselves, right in front of the most speediest contestants. So the people who were about to win the marathon decided to launch themselves in front of them. Short shrift, you're out of there, you're out of there. Israel out of the Tour, not a very nice thing to wear on your shirt, I would say, but a strong response there, Kane.
Well, indeed. I mean, he's no Emily Davison, I just... honestly, these people just always want to, ruin sport and ruin everything for us. And at the end of the day, he's obviously not right in the head if he's running in front of bicycles like that. I'm sorry, I just think it's just wrong and it's bad.
Well, that's actually true, yes.
For the
It's quite dangerous to throw yourself in front of a cyclist.
It looked like that guy was sort of auditioning for the Six Nations, the way he sort of absolutely tackled him, grabbed him by the ears and threw him over the fence. I mean, yeah, that should be the next anthem.
This is people complain about our police, don't they, because they're not heavy-handed enough.
I mean, look, to be honest with you, when there's safety in the way, and he literally put himself in front of that guy to get him out of the way, it kind of seemed like a sensible thing to do, and he made sure he was over the other side.
Should we watch the video again? Yeah. Let's get it up again, see exactly what happened, because I know these things aren't very long, so you might miss it if you blink. So here you go, Tour de France, very fast, hot day. This guy running and straight into him, bosh, straight over the side. The other spectators just seem to be taking pictures, which seems to be the standard response now to anything, isn't it? Whip out your phone. Whip out your phone. But, I mean, what is an anti-Israel protester doing at the Tour de France? Presumably Israel is taking part, but, I mean, besides from that, just seems a bit irrelevant, really.
Kamikaze, an Israeli cyclist, what is he playing at? You don't know what that guy's got with him.
And as well, at the end of the day, what's wrong with an Israeli?
Well, exactly.
Competing. Is it because they're a Jew? Is that the real reason why this person doesn't like them? I think possibly so. And that's the real disgusting reason about all of this.
Well, yep, there is a lot of anti-Semitism, unfortunately. But we are going to take a quick break because we've got a lot more coming up after the break. Yes, indeed. We're going to be returning to whether... I've got a question. Our lawyers, do they have too much power in this country when it comes to our laws? That's next.
Expect a warm front, moving from the kitchen right through to the rest of the house. Boxed Boilers, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers, and when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across the very far south, but even in the north, those temperatures reaching into the low 20s. As we then go through Sunday evening, continuing to see those showers swirling around that area of low pressure. Again, these turning heavy and thundery in nature as we go into the start of the new week. And the outlook is remaining pretty similar. Plenty of showers on the cards for many of us, though temperatures still around average for the time of year, but feeling pleasant where you do catch the sunshine.
A positive outlook through the night will power through to a bright day ahead. Boxed Home Battery Storage, sponsors of weather on GB News.
£54,321 cash could be yours. Cash that you could spend however you like. It's like having an extra £1,000 each week for a whole year to play with. Someone is guaranteed to win this amazing amount of cash, so make sure that someone could be you. For another chance to win £54,321 cash, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message, or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
In the GB newsroom, we bring you the news as it happens.
With our team of dedicated journalists across the UK,
we're ready to keep you up to date with what's happening every half an hour, every single day. Bulletins here on GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight-talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m, weekdays, here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Westminster, the ultimate clique.
And you're fighting like rats in a sack.
But here on the Camilla Tominey Show, we ask the questions the establishment media is too scared to ask.
OK, let me ask you a straight question, because I know you're a straight-talking politician.
Whether it's net zero, illegal immigration or law and order, nothing is off limits.
You had the power then.
Yeah, as I
and
say,
now you've lost it.
That's the Camilla Tominey Show, a politics show that's fearless.
But no, let me finish my question if you don't mind, because it is my show.
Sundays at 9:30, only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Hello, good afternoon. It is now 5 o'clock. Welcome to the Nana Akua Show on GB News, but with me, Emily Carver. It is Nana's birthday, so a very happy birthday to Nana, whatever she's up to. But I'll be keeping you company with all the very latest news until 6 o'clock. Here's what's coming up. Out today in full force, thousands of pro-Palestine protesters have descended on central London once more as the Metropolitan Police now confirm more than 60 arrests have been made of those allegedly expressing support for Palestine action. Elsewhere, Afghan migrants granted asylum in the UK have brought as many as 22 family members with them. This comes after a judge ruled that family members did not have to have either a blood or a legal connection to the applicant. Is Britain being taken for a ride? And Keir Starmer is planning a presidential-style shake-up of his Downing Street team, reportedly in efforts to stop the dysfunction of his government. But is this a desperate power grab from a Prime Minister in a bit of trouble? And the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has hit out at Labour over its handling of the economy, saying that it's stuck in a doom loop of no growth and ever higher taxes. Is she right? Well, there you go. That's what we've got for you this afternoon. But before we get started, let's get the news with Bethany.
Emily, thank you. Here's your top stories from the GB newsroom at 5:01. At least 55 people have been arrested in central London for showing support for the proscribed terrorist group Palestine Action. Thousands of protesters gathered in Parliament Square and police intervened after some displayed placards in favour of the group. Officers say they advised the demonstrators to put down the signs, but that they refused. They were arrested under Section 13 of the Terrorism Act. At least 30 people have been injured. 3 of them are in a critical condition after a vehicle ploughed into a crowd in Los Angeles. The incident took place on Santa Monica Boulevard, which is close to Hollywood. It's understood the driver of the car may have lost consciousness at the wheel. Captain Adam Vangapan from the LA Fire Department spoke to press at the scene.
Our firefighters were dispatched out to a traffic accident. On arrival, they found a large group of people standing outside of a club. There's a taco truck there, and apparently a vehicle had driven through the taco truck, through the valet, and into the crowd. So when our firefighters arrived on scene, they quickly called for additional resources. So we had a total of 124 firefighters were here on scene. There's about 25 LAPD officers that came out to assist us.
The US president is seeking $10 billion in damages from the Wall Street Journal and its owner, Rupert Murdoch. It's after the paper alleged that Donald Trump sent a birthday message to the late paedophile Jeffrey Epstein in 2003. President Donald Trump insists the letter is fake and is accusing the publication and 2 of its reporters of defamation. The paper's parent company, Dow Jones, said it will defend its reporting vigorously. At least 32 people have been killed by Israeli troops on their way to an aid distribution site in Gaza. The Israeli military claim they fired warning shots at suspects who approached its troops, but Gaza residents say they heard no such warnings before the firing began. The Gaza Humanitarian Fund says it has repeatedly warned people not to travel to aid points in the dark. Israel and Hamas are engaged in indirect talks in Qatar aimed at reaching a 60-day ceasefire, but there's currently no sign of an imminent breakthrough. At least 27 people have died, 8 of them children, after a tourist boat capsized in stormy weather in Vietnam's Hang Long Bay. The boat was carrying 53 people when it tipped over, with most of the tourists from the capital, Hanoi. Storm Whipper brought strong winds, heavy rainfall and lightning in the area. Thousands of Afghans whose personal details were leaked but who weren't evacuated to Britain are not expected to receive any compensation. The Ministry of Defence says the government would robustly defend any legal action or bid for damages, adding these are hypothetical claims. The data breach saw names and details of 19,000 people, including Afghans applying for the British relocation scheme, with many now saying they fear being targeted by the Taliban. Those are the latest headlines. I'll have more for you in half an hour.
For the very latest GB News direct to your smartphone, sign up to News Alerts by scanning the QR code or go to gbnews.com/alerts.
Well, Well, it's 5:04. Welcome back to the Nana Akua show, but with me, Emily Carver, this afternoon. Now, more is being revealed about this secret Afghan asylum scheme because it's been revealed that Afghan migrants have brought as many as 22 family members to the UK after relatives previously rejected for asylum were allowed into the country following the military data breach. Now, the government have said that Afghans who were flown to Britain brought an average of 8 family members with them. Now, this comes as it's also revealed that lawyers attempt to use ECHR laws to the European Court of Human Rights to force the government into accepting tens of thousands more individuals. So there is a question, I think, here about whether judges, lawyers are overreaching with this one, and if the European Court of Human Rights is allowing the country to be ever so slightly too generous when it comes to resettlement. Well, let's speak with immigration lawyer Ivan Sampson on this. Ivan, it is quite extraordinary to read that one Afghan migrant was able to bring 22 family members with them.
Well, that's probably an unusual case, but I don't know about the facts. But if they've claimed asylum, as a refugee, you're entitled to bring family members under what's called the family reunion policy. You have to remember that they may well be entitled to asylum now, because when they were assessed or whether there was a risk, and they were decided there wasn't a risk, you have to ask the questions with respect to the data breach. Has that risk now increased? And I don't think that's really a defensible position from the government to say it hasn't, because because it has, this is the reason people are being now brought to the UK. So if they claimed asylum, for example, now they probably get it. There's also likelihood that they could face inhumane and degrading treatment, breach of Article 2, and a risk to their life, breach of Article 3. So the decisions previously are outdated. You've got to look at the facts now.
So you think it's the moral duty, or should be the duty, the legal duty, of the British taxpayer to not only cough up for one person and their immediate family, but 22 family members?
Well, it's Sophie's choice, isn't it? I mean, come on. You're going to have what? How many how many children you leave behind because there's a restriction, please?
Ivan, we can't afford it. We can't afford it. The British taxpayer, look, we have our own homeless. We have our own people destitute.
I agree.
Where do you think this money is coming from? It's very easy for lawyers to come on and give a worthy case for how we need to save the world and how we need to bring everyone over here who isn't living the life that they deserve. But it doesn't. It doesn't really stand up to much scrutiny, does it, Ivan?
When the government makes a mistake, this is what we're talking about: a mistake, a negligent mistake. A simple apology won't cut it, I'm afraid. They've got to make amends for the mistakes they made. And the only way to amend it, this problem, is to protect people. And now, had you told these interpreters and people who worked with the government, oh, by the end of it, we're not going to protect you if there's a risk, they wouldn't have worked with us.
But there's a big question mark over whether we've actually settled the right people into this country, because sources in the arena have been saying that actually maybe only 1 in 16 Afghans who were on this kill list had actual genuine claims. I mean, this whole thing may well be that Brits have allowed in people who haven't actually been in danger, and that actually genuine asylum claims have been left in Afghanistan.
Well, if you look at the incompetence of the Home Office, no doubt people will slip through, because they don't seem to have a system where they can sift a genuine asylum seeker from the channel from a disgenuine one. So I wouldn't be surprised if many people slip through, but that's the Home Office responsibility. There's a thing called restorative justice and institutional accountability. When a government makes a mistake, it has, and it admits it's made a mistake, you've got to put it right. Simply saying sorry is not good enough. And, offering sanctuary is the right thing to do because it acknowledges the harm done and seeks to rectify it. That's got to be right.
So because it seems that providing sanctuary in this country is always the go-to.
But you forget
rather than, I don't know, potentially helping people in situ, for example. But what do you make of what this High Court judge ruled which apparently has led to this great expansion of the eligibility criteria under that definition of family member. So she ruled that the term family member does not have any fixed meaning in law or in common usage. Indeed, the word family may mean different things to different people and in different contexts. There may be cultural considerations. There is no requirement for a blood or legal connection. I'm sorry, but in this country, we do have a definition of family, surely.
Again, stems from Article 8, what the definition of family is. Now, the Home Office definition of family is wife and children under 18. That's their definition.
Yeah, and then the lawyers get involved and they stretch it as far as they can.
Well, you've got to take into account cultural differences.
And
there are situations. There are situations where people are living in a family unit, and if the one person or a group of people are taken back to the UK, it leaves the other people in the unit vulnerable. So it's not.
So, for example, if a man had 4 wives, we'd have to take the 4 wives and all of the extended family. Aunt, uncle, actually this man who lives, down the road, he's always felt like family, so he deserves to come too. It does sound ridiculous, Ivan.
When you get these hypothetical situations, it does sound...
Well, come on, 22 family members. It's not going to be 21 children and 1 wife, is it?
Well, look, in some communities, it's not unusual to have many children. So even closer to home...
21? That's extreme, even. Sorry, Ivan, go on.
There's parts of, I'm not going to name a country, but closer to home, where they have lots of children. And we don't poo-poo that, do we? We don't. We say that's the cultural norm in that country. And if in these countries, if they have more children, so be it. Remember, look, the problems occurred because the government messed up. We wouldn't be here if that email hadn't gone out. So when this is all over...
Well, there's a question mark over whether the Taliban knew these names anyway, isn't there? And whether actually the government were too quick in just saying, everyone come over here and let's slap this super injunction on so that no one needs to know about it.
Because I know the High Court judge who gave that super injunction. Let me tell you, these High Court judges, they do not grant super injunctions willy-nilly, even if the government asks for it. So there's evidence that you haven't seen, I haven't seen, but persuaded a judge to grant it. Now, the government have now reviewed it all and decided to withdraw that super injunction. And because they've said it doesn't appear to be a risk. Now, that might be politically helpful to the government to do that. We've got to apply the law. You may not like it, I may not like it, but the law has to be fair right across, and there must be no arbitrary decisions.
All right, Ivan Sampson, you've said your piece. Thank you very much indeed. Immigration lawyer there, Ivan Sampson. Well, we're joined now for more reaction with political commentator Benedict Spence. Benedict, I was slightly in despair there because the British taxpayer fundamentally has to pay for all of this. And they're being told that they need to take into account cultural considerations when it comes to how many family members are allowed over to this country, that potentially blood doesn't matter, potentially a legal definition of family doesn't matter. Am I wrong to tear my hair out?
You're not wrong to tear your hair out. I mean, the point is that our legal system, our entire constitution, in fact, is based in the idea of high trust and understood cultural norms that were sort of didn't have to be codified because everybody understood. I mean, the example that you gave about family members, for instance, most people understand what an immediate family is and what an extended family is in the British context. When you start to apply it to the rest of the world, of course that changes because other countries have different norms. But then the question has to be, why are we applying different standards to our own legal system? Presumably, if you come to this country, you abide by the same rules. And what we're finding is that lots of these things that are perhaps not been deliberately determined because everybody assumed that everybody knew what they were, can be exploited. I mean, one of the things that it's very clear people in this country do not understand, and I mean that in the sense of ordinary members of the public and indeed civil servants and politicians, they have no concept of this, is that in other cultures, it's true, the concept of the family is different. Also, there is the idea of obligation not simply to your family, not to your immediate family or your extended family, but to your entire tribe, most of whom you are actually actually related to at some point, that all counts as part of the clan, and you have obligations to them. That is how you end up in a situation where one or two people come, they bring their children, and then they want to bring their elderly parents, and people go, oh, that's fine, because you can't leave them behind, and then the wife wants to bring her parents, and then the parents say, well, what about your brother and sister, and what about their kids? And then sooner or later, your entire, community is there because you have those obligations. And British law is sat there going, what on earth are we supposed to do with this? We never foresaw this sort of thing happening because we didn't think anybody would try to game the system in this way. But then this also comes back to the thing that Ivan just said right there at the end, which is it's the law. You may not like it, I may not like it, but we have to follow the law. That's true. But you know what we have in this country? We have this thing called Parliament, and it's supposed to be able to change laws. And one of the things that has happened in this country over the last couple of decades is that we have tied ourselves up in both domestic and international treaties that say, oh, actually, you can't change the law. You can't vote to change the law. You can't use your democratic process to do that. And this is what you're going to have to adhere to. And this is one of the problems that you get with things like the ECHR, for instance, where the public might turn around and go, well, I don't like this law. I would like to vote to change this law. And the government go, well, sorry, we can't really do that. We're kind of stuck with this. And that's the situation, the ludicrous situation, where you and I are left tearing our hair out.
Yeah, I mean, we've spoken to two immigration lawyers on this channel. Well, actually, one human rights lawyer and one immigration lawyer, and both have said it is our country's moral duty to accept Afghans and their extended families, because fundamentally this was a mess up by our government that put people's lives at risk. But there's a massive trust issue here, isn't there? Because we're hearing from sources close to the Ministry of Defence within it who are saying that actually we got the wrong people. We brought some of the wrong people over. That actually some of those who were working closest and in most danger with the British forces aren't actually here.
Yeah, I mean, the response to that is, okay, which Afghans? Is it all of them? Because under the terms that I just laid out, which is the obligations to members of your clan, there is a never-ending extrapolation of all of those different people that can end up coming. And as you've just said, actually, perhaps the most worthy members of the Afghan Special Forces who worked and fought directly with British Special Forces in Afghanistan, many of them have just been denied their applications carte blanche. Many of them are, in fact, the ones who are trying to get into this country illegally across the channel in small boats because the Home Office has gone, no, we don't want you here, but we'll take all of these other people. There is a real sort of double standard being applied in terms of which Afghans are here. But I don't think it's unfair to say, actually, what is the obligation exactly? Because whilst you can turn around and you can say, okay, lots of these people might have been at risk from the Taliban at some point. If you look at the numbers of how many people have been sort of extrajudicially killed by the Taliban, it is not the tens of thousands that we were being told would happen by members of the liberal media in this country. They wanted that to be the case. They wanted the Taliban to go around with clubs and beating people over the head and stringing them up from cranes, because then that would give them some justification for our intervention in Afghanistan in the first place. But that hasn't actually happened because the Taliban issued a general amnesty. They are not, in fact, complete morons, and they understand that in order for a society to function, you need there to be that period of forgiveness and sort of reconstruction, and you need people who work in administrative jobs, who might have collaborated with the occupying force at some point, to stay in their jobs. Otherwise, things will just fall apart and you'll have anarchy. And the final point that I'd make in all of this is, the Afghan armed forces were some of the best equipped armed forces in the world. They had the full might of the European and US military-industrial complexes pushing weapons down their throat, giving them all the training they could possibly have. And when the Hill tribesmen turned up when the US pulled out, most of them put their guns down and they just changed sides. Actually, what are you supposed to do for a country like that? There is only so much we can do unless you want us to just perpetually occupy them, which I don't think they did want.
Well, that's their interesting point to end with, which isn't discussed enough in all of this. But Benedict Spence, political commentator, appreciate your time this afternoon. Have a good weekend. Well, let's get a quick thought from the panel. Who should I start with? Kane. Go on. Are you team immigration lawyer or team Benedict Spence here?
I'm team Benedict Spence. Benedict's last point is definitely right. And the immigration lawyer was saying, they might face inhumane treatment, Well, I mean, obviously, it's the Taliban to a certain extent. We know what they're like. But Benedict's right, is the Afghanistan army, army were trained to the hilt. We've done so much. We never talk about the fact that people ran away. Why didn't they stand up and fight, like the Ukrainians have done? You know, I mean, the president of Afghanistan fled like nobody's business, you know, he went straight off. This is sort of where I do have a problem, is we can't be morally justified, we can't be morally sort of bankrupt by these people just because, you know, we did intervene. Well, you can say it's right or wrong whether we did or not. OK, it happened. But we can't be, like, held responsible for all of time. You know, these countries have got to stand on their own 2 feet.
This is the thing. I mean, how do you feel about that, Chris? Because it is true that the West, you know, the world wants the West to help when things get tough, and then when it goes the other way, it's very much attacking the West, if you see what I mean.
Yeah, well, it would have
Can't do wrong from right.
It would have helped if Biden hadn't pulled out. I mean, I look at this through the lens of the housing crisis, right? Under the scheme that we're talking about, the 6,900 that were under the secret scheme, you know, if they're having 5.5 people a family on average, I think the Afghans are, you're going to need about 1,300 council houses or socially rented homes. We build 2,000 a year. If you add up all of them, just under the Afghan scheme, before we even talk about small boats, before we even talk about anything else, right, just under these Afghan schemes, it's about 39.7 thousand. You're going to need 7,000 social homes. That's more. We're only building 2,000 a year. If that's a whole 3 years. Like, there's no cost-benefit analysis done by any of these lawyers who might have the moral, you know, righteousness of the next person.
Well, let's be honest, a lot of lawyers are making a lot of money out of this type of thing.
It's a gravy train. Like, I mean, look, there was real lives at stake. But we've got to look at this through the lens of the taxpayer, and most of the things people care about is tax and borders, and I think there's a lot of people on the left, a lot of people on the right that all care about that. And right now, this rule by lawyer rather than rule by law is ruining.
I mean, even if we had enough houses to house millions of people, there is the question over social cohesion, integration, and all of that too, which can't be ignored. Afghanistan is a very, very different country from Britain. Anyway, coming up, Conservative leader Kemi Badenoch has hit out at Labour over its handling of the economy, saying that it's stuck in a doom loop, no growth, ever higher taxes. Is she right? There's a picture of Rachel Reeves, our Chancellor.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GBNews, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
GB News Breakfast, every day from 6 a.m.
Welcome back to Breakfast. Now, experts are warning that lithium suppliers will not keep up with the demand for electric cars.
Yeah, researchers say domestic lithium production could grow as much by about 10 times what it currently is by 2030, but will still fall short of demand.
So this morning we're asking whether Labour's green car policy is unachievable.
This policy tells you everything you need to know about net zero. This isn't about giving people free choices about the technologies they want to use. This is about saying we're going to have mandatory targets. It's a sad indictment on our country if we've just normalised the government making these fundamental decisions for people's lives. The CEBR has warned that this policy might cost the country. That's rigid targets for battery electric vehicles, known as the ZEV mandate. 80% of all vehicles will have to be electric vehicles by 2030, rising to 100% by 2035. And that policy is expected to cost £400 billion to the UK economy. And of course, car makers as well have warned that this policy is not achievable.
The latest stats say 47% of vehicles sold in Britain are now EVs. We're halfway there after just 2 years of the electric mandate. We've another 5 years to go. It's speeding up. And this charge that lithium, we're going to have a shortage of lithium, is nonsense. What it says is that there may be the consumption of lithium is increasing, so the domestic production will not be sufficient, but there's plenty in the world.
GB News, the People's Channel.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
And welcome back to the Nana Akua show on GB News with me, Emily Carver. Just this once this afternoon, because it is in fact Nana's birthday. Happy birthday to Nana. I wonder what she's up to. What do you reckon, Chris?
Having a drink and with a...
She's having a little cocktail.
Yeah.
A little cocktail?
Nice slice of cake, maybe.
Maybe a little
Yeah,
champagne
tea,
cocktail?
cake.
A little slice of cake? Yeah, why not? Why not?
It's her birthday.
It's my birthday, actually, on Tuesday.
Oh.
So, you know, think
happy
of some
birthday
gift
to me.
ideas, Kate. I like diamonds.
Diamonds.
Anyway, the Conservative leader, Kemi Badenoch, has hit out at the government over its handling of the economy, saying that it's stuck in a doom loop. She insists that the government needs to reduce borrowing and stop ballooning national debt. Well, the government says they're cleaning up the Tory mess. Could we see significant tax rises in the autumn budget to pay for the state of things at the moment? Well, joining me now is Professor of Economics and Public Policy at King's College London. Jonathan, just how bad is it?
Well, it is true that we've had essentially 15 years of pretty poor growth, very low growth overall, slow growth in real wages. And of course, at the same time, we've had austerity, which means the quality of public services overall has deteriorated quite a lot over that period. So in that sense, it is pretty bad. The current state of the economy, however, I mean, we shouldn't catastrophize about things. We had pretty good growth in the first quarter. That's probably going to slow in the second quarter, but it's not disastrous. And given the state of the world in general and the sort of pressures on resulting from, of course, what's happening in the US, I'd say the UK economy is not in terribly bad shape, but things are not great, and the government doesn't need indeed the task of restarting growth, of getting us back on a higher growth trajectory, is absolutely the government's most fundamental problem.
Right. Well, I mean, if you look at what's happened over the last few months, I mean, inflation up, isn't it? Unemployment's up. Growth, as you say, is pretty stagnant. Yes, we've seen it go up slightly and then down again and then slightly up and then slightly down again. What does the government need to do, in your opinion, to try and get that going? Because they promise this is the government of growth, growth, growth.
Well, that's right. And to be fair to the government, their inheritance was pretty awful. As I said, 15 years essentially of no growth in real wages.
Has it got worse though, Jonathan? Because it looks like it's got worse on those key factors.
No, that's quite wrong, right? I mean, real wages are growing quite healthily at the moment. Real wage growth is significantly ahead of inflation. That's the point, right? And real wages have grown by about 2% over the last year.
Unemployment's up.
But that's because inactivity has fallen. You know that, right? I mean,
and also because of national insurance hikes, which is why... Jonathan, you're very patronising, Jonathan, when you come on. I appreciate talking to you, and I appreciate you coming on, but sometimes, you know that, right? A little bit sarky, don't you think?
Yes, but I mean, we need to get the facts right. So, for example, the latest figures, which came out on Thursday, did indeed show that unemployment was up, but they also showed that employment was up. In other words, the average rate of which people had jobs was slightly up, because inactivity, the number of people who are out of the workforce because they're, for example, sick or disabled, had fallen rather, slightly more. And we know that's been a big problem since the pandemic. So I think we need to be a bit balanced in this. As I said, the government faces a real set of challenges, and you're quite right. Growth needs to be the priority, and the government needs to deliver on its promises here. But equally, we shouldn't pretend that things are somehow got worse over the last year compared to what's happened over the last 15 years, because that's simply not what the data shows.
Has anything got worse? Has anything got worse in your view since Labour came into power? Because there have been a lot of economic decisions made.
Well, it's certainly true that taxes have gone up. And that was absolutely, unfortunately, necessary to fill the fiscal hole led by the previous government. And unfortunately, taxes will almost certainly have to go up again this October
But do we risk not getting the rewards from that, though? Because, you know, national insurance hikes, it's a tax on jobs, isn't it? So businesses less likely to hire and grow, potential job losses, then you get less in tax receipts. The non-dom changes, again, there's been a partial U-turn on that, but you then end up with millionaires and billionaires potentially moving their assets and etc. and business deals and everything else to different countries. So then you lose tax as a result of that. The VAT on private school fees, we've seen quite a few private schools close. So is that really helping the state of things when you just have more kids in the state sector? I mean, these choices, they're not just as simple as you put taxes up, you get more taxes.
Well, in general, they are as simple. You know, for most things, it is actually that simple, right? The rise in national insurance has certainly led to us having more tax revenue to pay for public services. There's no doubt about that. Equally, the VAT on, right, we don't know yet what the long-term impacts are, but so far, the effects of that seem to be pretty marginal. Most in the effect has certainly been to increase tax revenues. It's a bit harder with non-doms, again, because we don't yet know what's happening. We don't yet know how many people are leaving. But you're right, these are difficult choices. But nonetheless, the government does have to raise tax revenue in order to pay for public services. There is, I think, a general agreement that the austerity has damaged public services quite significantly. People want to see better schools and hospitals, and the money for that has to come from somewhere. And ultimately, it has to come from us. It has to come from you and me, people who pay taxes.
Jonathan, I wonder if you... Well, this is the worry. I feel like it's going to be middle England, as it were, middle earners, the middle classes who are going to have to cough up more, working class people as well. Because, and I don't know, do you believe these statistics, 16,500 millionaires leaving the country this year?
No, I don't. I think those are entirely, they're basically back of, not even back of the envelope. They're, from a slightly ropey survey by a wealth management firm. Now,
do you think any millionaires have left? Do you think we've had a net gain of millionaires or a net loss of millionaires?
Well, I mean, you can equally, there was actually a story in the papers the other day about how millionaires, some millionaires are indeed moving to the UK to escape Trump. Again, I would personally take that as with a pinch of salt, because I don't tend to believe these anecdotal stories about the odd millionaire leaving or the odd millionaire coming. It's not, we shouldn't take it too seriously. We have to look at the data when we actually get hard data from HMRC on how much tax is coming in and how many of the non-noms are actually paying.
I've got a feeling it might show that quite a lot of these people who pay a tremendous amount of tax have actually decided to go elsewhere for a number of reasons, to be fair. Jonathan Portes, appreciate your time. Thank you very much indeed, Professor of Economics and Public Policy at King's College London. Always fun. Kane, it's not that bad, actually. State of the economy?
Honestly, I mean, I think he needs to change his title to the Professor for the Labour Party. Christ, honestly, I couldn't believe what I was hearing. It's been marginal damage, what the Labour Party has done. It's not. You ask real people out there in the country what these taxes have done to their businesses, what it's doing to the employees of their businesses. They say, oh, we're not taxing working people. Yes, you are. They are absolutely destroying small businesses out there. It's so disheartening for so many people. And then you've got, things like energy bills as well, are absolutely sky high. Well, it's just a cocktail of disaster that is being put on so many people.
Yeah, I mean, for how long, Chris? For how long can the Labour Party say, the Labour government say, well, the Tories have left us with this mess?
I mean, look, Jonathan Portes had a point about inactivity reducing. That means more people are re-entering the market. But they go on to benefits, right, until they find jobs.
Yeah.
So the benefit bill will be going up as a result of that. And we've got 4,000 construction insolvencies, coming through the pipeline as well. So there's a lot on the horizon. But I'd say, look, if we're going to look at this in the bigger picture, we've got to look across the pond, because we're seeing inflation risks in America that are keeping our debt costs high. That triangulates to the UK. I've said before that the sort of spread between the US rates and our rates, it's not as bad as it was under Liz Truss. So there's kind of there is an overhype about the doom loop, but when we're looking forward, we've just seen the U-turn in the planning reform bill, given Natural England a veto over, these things called environmental delivery plans, whatever that means. But that means they're basically going to be able to stop things being built, and the whole Labour agenda on growth has been put down to house building and infrastructure, which they've just kowtowed to the vegetable lobby.
And to be fair to Jonathan, these problems existed under the Conservatives very much so. Highest tax burden since the Second World War. We weren't building because of all the planning regulations. I mean, there's always these crazy statistics that Tom Harwood always tells me about how... you know, the amount of motorway, for example, that France has been able to build at the same time as we've built one village road, you know? That sort of thing. It is crazy how little we get done in that respect. I mean, HS2 is just the ultimate example, isn't it, really?
Isn't it?
The track to nowhere. Anyway, Kane Blackwell, Chris Worrell, thank you very much indeed. Coming up, we'll be getting the latest... Oh, gosh, not this. Oh, yes, it is the ongoing rumoured affair between two senior workers in the United States. Yes, they were caught out at a Coldplay concert on one of these kiss cam things. I mean, the memes are crazy. We'll get the lowdown next.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers. And when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across the very far south. But even in the north, those temperatures reaching into the low 20s. As we then go through Sunday evening, continuing to see those showers swirling around that area of low pressure. Again, these turning heavy and thundery in nature as we go into the start of the new week. And the outlook is remaining pretty similar. Plenty of showers on the cards for many of us, though temperatures still around average for the time of year, but feeling pleasant where you do catch the sunshine.
From the school run to the home run, watch a new show for all of Britain.
He can say whatever he wants.
A straight talking show where all voices are heard.
And, you know, when are we going to stop talking about smashing the gangs and actually do it?
With the stories that matter from every part of our country.
There's a bit of a crash landing there for your Chancellor.
Bold, fearless and standing up for you. That's me, Martin Daubney, 3 p.m. till 6 p.m. weekdays here only on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
You've read the headlines, you've heard what those in power have to say. How about now we actually get to the truth?
They would pay attention.
We go beyond the political theatre and tell you what's really going on behind the scenes. For a massive council tax hike, one of the biggest in the UK. Others follow their lines, but we go off script.
You sound like a broken record. You say that week after week.
Cutting through the narratives and giving you unique perspectives. That's Ben Leo tonight, Saturdays and Sundays from 9 p.m. on GB News, Britain's news channel.
5 hosts, 5 opinions, 5 fearless debates, 5 unfiltered takes on the day's news.
5 reasons not to be anywhere else on Saturday night.
This is the Saturday 5. You got me good there. Britain's biggest Saturday night TV show. It's not a bad brand. Yeah. Uncensored.
Very, very racy tonight.
On the unpredictable.
What did she say? Can you translate it for us?
And always entertaining.
And how can a country go from being led by William Wallace Saturday nights from 6 p.m. only on GB News, the People's Channel.
Britain's news channel.
You're going to want to stay tuned, trust me.
OK, it's 5:39. Welcome back to the Nana Akua show on GB News, but with me, Emily Carver, just this afternoon because it's Nana's birthday. But we're going to move on to this story because the former MasterChef winner, Jane Devonshire, was diagnosed with secondary breast cancer back in 2012. Now, raising money for further research is something that is extremely close to her heart, and she's going to be hosting an afternoon tea. She's still going strong 10 years after being diagnosed. And when you're going through something like that, she says, it's good to have people you can talk to. Well, we're joined by former MasterChef winner and Jane Devonshire, who's been living with secondary breast cancer. Jane, just tell us a little bit about your story. It's quite a long one, isn't it, Jane?
Well, I suppose so, yeah. I was diagnosed in 2007 when my youngest child was 5. I've got 4 children. And then I went through operations, chemo, radiotherapy, everything else, and was just coming up to my 5-year all clear when it came back in my liver and I had secondaries in my liver. So again, I was back onto the whole being diagnosed again, horrible operation, liver resections, and, then having to learn how to live with secondary breast cancer. So yeah, it has been a long journey, and I am still taking all the pills that they give me, and I'm still having all my CT scans and everything else yearly and things, but I'm still here 17 years from first diagnosis, as you say. So it's a story of real success and hope, I hope anyway.
After this many years.
Apologies, I didn't hear you.
How are you feeling in yourself? Are you feeling well? How are you feeling?
Yeah, I feel really well. I feel better than I have felt for ages, actually. I've just started on they changed my drugs a little bit and stuff. So for me, it's a really positive story. And it's one of the reasons why I love coming on and talking to people, because I think it's important to share that when you hear you've got cancer, it can be very negative. It's always going to be a negative experience, but the prognosis and everything for people is getting so much better and so much more hopeful.
Yeah, absolutely. And Jane, initially you were told that there was nothing wrong, weren't you? But you decided, was it a gut feeling? You felt like you needed to go back for a second opinion?
It really was. I was told initially there was nothing wrong. They thought it was a cyst. I'd found a lump in my breast, and it was a gut feeling. I just felt very tired, and everybody kept saying, of course you're tired, you've got 4 young children. But there was something in me that just thought this is different. So I pushed to go and have further tests, and I'm eternally grateful that I listened to my body and did that, because obviously I'm still here. And that's the thing about examining yourself. It's so very important, because the sooner these things are diagnosed, the more hope you have.
Well, absolutely. And tell me a little bit about this afternoon tea then that you're hosting.
Oh, I'm so excited by it. Every August, Breast Cancer Now hosts an afternoon tea campaign, and it's about getting together, a group of friends, have an afternoon tea, sort of tea and cake, having a natter, and raising some money for what is an excellent charity. I mean, long before MasterChef, I accessed Breast Cancer Now services and used them. Their helpline when I wasn't feeling very well, they were another resource. So firsthand, I know what a brilliant charity they are. And to be able to host something like an afternoon tea, which isn't very difficult to do, they give you all the materials you need, and raise a little bit of money, I think it's the perfect way to do it.
Now, there may be people watching and listening to this who have just been diagnosed or are going through something similar to you. How do you manage to stay positive throughout it all, if indeed you have?
Oh, it's hard at times. I can't say that you don't get those moments when it's very difficult. And mentally, it's very challenging, particularly when you're going through chemo and drugs, maybe being plunged into early menopause, and you're trying to be strong for your family and your friends. It can be a really tough time. And I think with me, I was lucky. I was surrounded by fantastic family and friends and support system, which helped enormously. Not everyone is. And I think it was being able to talk to someone else, like the Breast Cancer Now helpline, about some things that you were too scared to mention to family, or you didn't want to worry family. And just trying to stay, everybody can talk about positive mental attitude and everything else. Your back's up against the wall, you're fighting like mad. You just take every day as it comes and do the best you can. But I just hope that people look at myself and people like myself and know that it's not always a bad outcome, that there is an awful lot of positive. And 17 years on from first diagnosis, I'm still here, still very healthy, hopefully, and everything's looking good at the moment.
Fantastic stuff. Now, I must ask you, as a former MasterChef winner, of course you would have been reading and hearing about all the negative news surrounding the show and the hosts and everything. How was the experience for you, if you don't mind me asking, Jane?
I found
obviously you won, so that's fantastic.
Yes, exactly. I loved it. I loved my time on the show. I had the most positive experience. I can't speak negative about anything about it. I generally loved it, and I think most of us who did well had a great experience on the show. And for me, it was 4 years after my second diagnosis, and it was just a new launch for my life. It gave me something else to do and a whole new career. So I can't speak negatively about it at all. I absolutely love MasterChef and everything it's given me. I mean, it's been positive.
Well, it's fantastic to see you not only battling on, but also giving back so much to other people. Really fantastic story. Jane Devonshire, good luck with everything. Former MasterChef winner and also living with secondary breast cancer and organising lots of things, including an afternoon tea for breast cancer now. But if you're in search of some holiday sun, here is the forecast for you.
Dinner under the stars tonight?
That reminds me of our travel insurance.
You mean all clear skies?
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
It's a bit of a mixed picture across Europe over the next couple of days, with plenty of showers around across parts of France, even northern parts of Italy too. Maybe even Madeira and the Canary Islands catching 1 or 2 isolated showers. But for parts of Spain, Portugal, Italy, even parts of Greece, there's plenty of sunshine on offer. And the southern Mediterranean is seeing plenty of that sunshine, though perhaps a little breezy. Temperatures generally in the low to mid 30s and similar through the outlook as well. Plenty of sunshine on the cards and feeling very warm.
All Clear Travel Insurance sponsors GB News Travel Destinations forecast.
You want to know what's really going on in the corridors of power? Labour don't know what to do with you half the time, and that makes you quite lethal in the chamber. Get behind the headlines with Chopper's Political Podcast. Join me, Christopher Hope, as I sit down with the great and the good of British politics. We'll see where this ruling takes us. These are the stories shaping our nation. Chopper's Political Podcast, available now on all platforms. Listen in and stay ahead.
At GB News, we love to hear from you, our loyal community. So drop us a line at gbnews.com/yoursay. There you can talk to each other and also to the presenters live on air. gbnews.com/yoursay, because GB News is your channel, Britain's news channel.
Hi, I'm Michelle Dewberry, and my show is your opportunity to cut through all the noise and dive in headfirst to some robust debates. Ideas clash.
Situation.
No,
because the failure is
you're deliberately avoiding my point. Nothing's held back.
And if you think this is the end of it, wait for more.
And we do not shy away from the difficult stuff. Sometimes I want to shake people and say, if only you understood. So join me on Jubes & Co. weeknights at 6 p.m. only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Good Afternoon Britain isn't just about us. The wonderful thing about this programme is it's about everyone watching. It's an interactive programme.
Well, there absolutely is something to see here, and we're going to be talking about it more. Whether it's breaking royal news, please bring us up to date, or indeed a particularly punchy speech in the House of Commons.
Very, very curious.
We bring it to you live, and then we bring you live reaction as well.
That's Good Afternoon Britain, weekdays from midday.
Only on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
This is Britain's Newsroom, where your voice matters.
It's just astonishing. With expert analysis and honest opinion, we don't just keep you informed.
We bring you unique perspectives you won't see anywhere else.
Can't argue with any of that. When the news happens, it happens here.
On Britain's Newsroom, weekdays from 9:30 a.m.
Only on GB News.
Britain was once the envy of the world. But look around. A nation that no longer knows what it is or where it's going. A country that's broken. How do we fix Britain? How do we bring it back? Friday night with Matt Goodwin at 8 p.m. only on GB News.
Mornings don't have to be tiresome, especially if you have the right company.
Wake up to news as it happens, opinion and debate, and of course, a little bit of entertainment too.
Because when the kettle's on, we're on.
That's Breakfast on GB News, a show worth waking up for.
Every morning from 6 a.m.
Only on the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
We'll spread the news, you spread the word.
Right, we may be coming up to the end of the show, but there are just 2 weeks remaining in our current Great British giveaway. £54,321. If you haven't entered, why not?
£54,321 in tax-free cash really could be yours. But what's it like to be a big Great British giveaway winner?
I'm Paul from Sheffield. I was the winner of a very nice motorhome and £5,000 in cash off GBNews. Yeah, he just pinged up money in, 5,000, and I'm like, wow, I have actually won this competition. It has changed my life. It's given me stability and it's given me something to look forward to. Anybody can win. I never thought I was going to win, and I did. So thank you, GB News.
Lines close on the 1st of August, so make sure you don't miss out. For another chance to win, text cash to 63225. One entry costs £2.50 plus one standard network rate message. Or text bonus to 63225. 5 entries cost £5 plus one standard network rate message. Go to gbnews.com/win. Entries start at £2.50. Call 0903 686 3232. Calls cost £2.50 plus your network access charge. Or post your name and number to GB14 PO Box 8690 Derby DE1 9TT. UK only. Entrance must be 18 or over. Lines close at 4 p.m. on the 1st of August. Please check the closing time if listening or watching on demand. Good luck.
Well, welcome back. It is 5:50, and yes, you've probably seen it by now, but this now viral concert clip will probably mean a very complicated weekend for 2 Coldplay fans. Take a look.
Yeah. Oh, look at these 2. All right, come on. You're okay? Oh, what? Either they're having an affair or they're just very shy.
Gosh, are we seeing karma just playing out in front of our eyes? Yes, this clip shows the Astronomer CEO, Andy Byron, and his HR chief, Kristen Cabot, rumoured to be romantically involved, getting cosy during the concert in Boston, Massachusetts. Yes, they were caught off guard by the venue's kiss cam. The pair became the focus of frontman Chris Martin, who didn't really help them out by saying either they're having an affair or they're very shy. The internet, of course, has had an absolute field day. There are memes aplenty. Let's have a look at some more kiss cams. Yes, the Philly Fanatics, they're the mascots, reenacted the Coldplay affair. Wait for it. There we go. Then they see they're caught, and then they do what the other 2 did, the real-life people. Oh, it's all got a bit rough, hasn't it, Kane?
Yeah.
I almost feel sorry for this pair. Well, I do feel sorry for them, if I'm honest. Most people's affairs aren't outed like that, are they, Kane?
No, I mean, it's I mean, look, it's sad for everyone involved. I mean, the family of these 2, you know...
Well, they're probably not impressed.
Well, no, obviously not, but it's... I mean, this is so going to be a Netflix documentary, isn't it? Like, it's so ripe for it, and I think everyone sort of wants it as well, because we're so nosy as a people, aren't we? We just
really
want to know
are.
everything. I mean, no, it's not nice. There's, you know, people involved in this, but at the end of the day...
The TikTok detectives are having a field day.
We love the tea.
Chris, is it a bit much that the company is now launching an investigation, and I believe both of them have been put on leave while they investigate? I mean, they're 2 grown adults.
Together, or...?
Yeah, well, I mean, he's the CEO and she's the HR director, so it's brought them into a bit of disrepute. But what I found good with the TikToks that have come up is, like, what to do if you get caught in that situation.
Oh, yeah, so what should you do then, Chris?
Well, one of them was, like, get them into the Heimlich manoeuvre.
Yes, he should have done that. He should have done that. You're right.
A bit dodgy. Yeah, or play rolling, that you're getting into a play fight, you know, just put her in a headlock, like one of the ones, or vice versa. So, I mean, there's more questions.
Well, I don't know, then he'd be accused of
It'll
violence.
be a bit less damaging than...
Probably would have been less damaging, yeah. Probably would have been. I mean, I don't know what to say really about that other than good luck to them. Yes, cheating is never good, but also having it go viral around the world probably isn't
great.
It probably isn't proportionate, I would say. No. And you never know what actually has been going on behind closed doors, as it were. But I should say thank you to you, Kane Blackwell, for being with us today, and also to Chris Worrell, the former Labour activist.
Thank you.
I look forward to seeing what you're going to do next in terms of politics. Perhaps you'll join the Conservatives. They need some more support.
Well, they've got some good content people there.
But yes, next is actually the Saturday 5, which is coming up. Alex, what's on the show tonight?
Hello, everybody. Yeah, we're back on the Saturday 5. Almost everyone's here. Tonight, we've got a big show. Tonight on the show, though, Will.
Yes, Alex, I'll be emphasising the obvious point that not one single Afghan should be allowed entry into this country.
Labour are sacrificing childhood for their forever power aims.
And Antifa keeps showing up at protests, but who are they and where do they come from?
And I'll be talking...
Even though we'll see a cloudy start, it'll be a bright outlook for the rest of the day. Boxed Solar, sponsors of weather on GB News.
Good afternoon. Welcome to your latest GB News weather from the Met Office. Further thundery showers and outbreaks of rain on the way for many of us through the rest of the weekend, but perhaps feeling a little bit fresher than it did on Friday. Low pressure very much in charge of our weather over the next couple of days, but it's this weather front out towards the east of the UK that's going to continue to bring some quite heavy downpours, particularly across northern parts of England and into eastern parts of Scotland too, with various weather warnings in force across the UK. All eyes down to the southwest as that area of low pressure brings a band of rain and showers pushing its way northwards across parts of Wales and southwest England. Again, some heavy thundery downpours are likely here. And it's going to be another mild night for most of us, perhaps not quite as mild as Friday night, though temperatures still staying up into the mid-teens for most of us. And that does mean quite a cloudy and damp start for many of us on Sunday morning. Down towards the southwest, we'll continue to see some outbreaks of heavy, perhaps thundery rain continue to push their way northwards, particularly across parts of Wales, southern parts of England too. Northern Ireland, northern parts of England, perhaps southern parts of Scotland, seeing a bit of sunshine to start the day, but eastern parts of Scotland continuing to see some heavy downpours, some prolonged periods of rain likely, particularly as we go through Sunday morning. Then as we go towards the afternoon, various bands of rain continue to swirl around that area of low pressure down towards the southwest. Again, these showers perhaps turning heavy and thundery at times, even some hail mixed in too. But there will be some sunshine developing between those showers, and when you do catch that sunshine, it will still be feeling pleasant, feeling warm for this time of year. 24, 25, potentially 26 degrees, maybe a little fresher across